What?
Those puppets are in a. That box says embalming fluid on it.
It's a box that says embalming fluid, but it doesn't really have embalming
No, but I
fluid.
guess at some time it did.
It did at one point, huh?
What it used to come like a bottle. It's like milk delivery.
What are you doing with embalming fluid, Nathan?
Actually, Kether's dad bought me that. It was a Christmas present. He found it in one of the antique stores around here. Now I keep all my puppets in it.
Did they used to
It's sort of-
deliver
sort of
embalming
perfect.
fluid like that?
It's a good question. What is embalming fluid?
Remember when I was
I know what you do with it, but what is it?
when I was a kid, we had like a milk box, and the guy would deliver milk bottles, but they never delivered embalming fluid.
Yeah, I don't know what. We'll have to look that up, or ask them out
Yeah,
there
people
in the
send
world.
in people.
Somebody tell us what's the chemical formula or name of embalming fluid.
And your favorite ones, your favorite brand names.
Your favorite ones. What was that?
It was my phone.
Text?
Yep.
It might have been the answer. Someone's just on it. Here you go.
You think? That would be pretty cool.
All right, we're live. Share. Let's see here. Yep, there we are on Facebook. I'm going to share it to my wall.
I didn't get a text. I don't know what it did. It's telling me something, but I don't know what it is.
Oh, we already have an answer. We haven't even started the show
Wow.
yet. Embalming fluid uses formaldehyde as a preservative. Formaldehyde is the simplest aldehyde with the chemical formula HCHO. Oh, good job.
Wow.
Formalin is a solution of formaldehyde in water, usually with a small amount of methanol added. Bam.
Just to make sure you're dead.
Right.
What's it taste like?
Oh, terrible.
Can you mix
I
it?
had a
Can you-
fifth. I had a fifth one
Can you
night.
mix it in a drink?
Oh my God, it was horrible. I didn't even want to drink it, but I didn't have any alcohol.
I'll never drink again.
Well, no, I wouldn't say. Yeah, I almost didn't. I was in the hospital for 3 days before they could bring me back to life. They had me down in the basement with the other bodies. I couldn't get their attention. It was
I don't
terrible.
see any puncture marks. I don't know how they got this embalming fluid in his body. He must have been chugging it straight from the bottle.
I would drink it, but I wasn't letting them plug it into me. No intravenous formaldehyde for me.
It just doesn't look hospital type of. I guess they don't embalm me at the hospital. It doesn't look like it has any medical.
No, it's for the undertaker. It's when we're through at the hospital. That's the most I can do.
And like that, we're live. We are live on Twitch, on Facebook, on YouTube. I'm Nathan Moore. Hello, welcome to Nathan's Land. This is Steve Moore, my father, and Kyle Hogg. And we are Jawn here. They braved the ice storm out there. Just two brave men stopping by for a visit. It is messy out there, but we're not going to cancel 2 weeks in a row. I like
Right.
that determination.
That's right.
Kudos.
We had to do it.
Kudos. Had to be done.
Had to do it.
Welcome to Nathan's Land.
Good to see everybody. I apologize for last week. I thought I was doing good. It was about 4 o'clock. I laid down to take a nap and woke up and I had a cold sweat and it just got worse and worse.
You'd done a lot that day. You were out ringing the bell and everything.
I had been out doing stuff. And I really think, after I talked to you about 6:30, I went back in the bedroom and fell sound asleep till 12:30, which I never do. But when I woke up, I didn't have the cold sweat.
Oh, that's good.
And I really think that I was subjected to a virus or something, and my body was fighting it off right then. And it went down and gave it a good fight and knocked it out. Because then I didn't get sick the next day.
Cool.
So but it just hit during that time of the show that
Right.
I was incapacitated, and but since then I've been fighting it day to day.
I saw shared the picture for earlier of you and Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot came by yesterday.
Where'd you get the Christmas tree?
That's the one we've had forever.
Ah.
But Jennifer's the one that gets credit for that. It was back out in the shed, and she went out. She came over, and Jennifer is my housekeeper that takes care of me in lots of ways, and she brought me Christmas.
It looks
It
beautiful.
was her little Christmas gift to
Very
me,
nice.
and she put up little little Christmas stuff around. So I'm not going to see her for a while. She's going to visit her family
Where's that?
up in New Hampshire and points north, and so. But I wanted to thank her for getting us Christmassy, and then sure enough, Elliot comes and he loved the tree. He calls the round balls, he calls them circles. So he was finding the circles. What else did he like? He found a Santa Claus. He knew Santa,
Uh-huh.
and circles, and he was all around.
Oh.
He was having a good time. But that was put me in the spirit a little bit.
Yeah, I could feel it.
Yeah.
The
And I
picture is
was-
oozing the
I was,
spirit.
hmm
The picture is oozing the spirit.
Yeah, I feel like I'm ready now. And I actually did a little Christmas shopping yesterday, which I don't do much.
You
but I
went
did.
you went out?
I went out. Christy took me to, where did we go? We went to Wilderness Adventure
fun.
and to Puffer Bellies. The kids love Puffer Bellies,
Yeah.
and I do too. It's a wonderful store.
That is a wonderful
That's
store.
cool.
Just want to go in there and just play with everything.
Yeah, I just was thinking if they'd had a Puffer Bellies when I was a kid, I'd have just dropped me off, leave me for the afternoon.
I'm a little upset that some of the children's magic sets are
Or not to your.
not too much. Yeah.
Well, I would think it'd be hard for them to.
What do you mean, not to what?
Well, I just feel like it got popular, and there's cheap versions that that spill too many beans,
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
and even in the way they're packaged, they almost spill too many beans on the cover on the package. Like,
Ooh.
oh, why are you showing that? I can't. I wish I could say more. If y'all were a couple of magicians and we weren't online right now, I would rant for a little while. Can you believe they show the blank, blank, blank? It's not okay.
No, you think that's a phase all kids go through, magic? I remember, I was never good at it. It probably didn't last for like a month or so.
Well, I guess I'm contradicting myself now, because probably starts with getting a magic set for
Right,
Christmas.
yeah.
I think that's where I got my start.
Oh,
was
yeah.
little
We got
kid
it too,
set.
grandparents. Here's a magic set. We didn't know what
Right.
else to get you.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think every kid gets one, and 1 out of 100 really takes to
Right.
it. It's like a musical instrument.
Right.
Everybody gets one, but 1 out of 100 is
Wow.
immediately deeply fascinated by
Right.
it.
How about a chemistry set? Did you ever get one of those?
I don't think I ever got one of that. Well, I probably got some version of a chemistry.
You didn't
set.
buy your kids all chemistry sets?
No, I never had one. I never thought about it.
Wow.
I just figured that it's either going to be boring or dangerous.
Right.
And why would I want to give them either one of those?
I like that. It's either going to be boring or dangerous.
No, magicians probably die trying to do crazy stuff, don't they?
Yeah. There's definitely been some famous magicians that have died in the course of a daring. There's so many schools of magic. There's like the getting yourself out of shackles and straitjackets and getting submerged in water while you're all chained up and stuff. Some of those go wrong from time to time.
I don't see you doing that.
I never have been interested in any of that.
No,
That is not the way I want to
Is that
go.
considered more like a magician or like an escape artist?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot of weird blurring
No,
lines.
Houdini didn't die. I mean, didn't he get punched in the stomach? But he didn't die. He didn't drown in a thing, did he?
No, but yeah, it was a famous thing he would do where he would let people punch him in the stomach as hard as they wanted to. When somebody knew that was one of the things he did and hit him when he wasn't ready for it, and he died later from that punch.
Wow.
Crazy story. Yeah.
And then he also wasn't he gonna? Was he? He was trying to. He didn't believe in life after death, right? Wasn't him and Sherlock Holmes? Sherlock Holmes believed in it. And Houdini was like torn, saying, "Sherlock Holmes, you're not Sherlock Holmes. What's the guy that wrote?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Who wrote Sherlock Holmes?
Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah,
Sir.
yeah. He supposedly he believed in life after death, and Houdini was like, "No, you can't believe in that." You know, they would have like some kind of battle over that.
Right. I bring that up all the time just because it, to me, like really illustrates how it wasn't that long ago that everybody believed in some crazy stuff on some level.
Right.
Like no matter who you were, even Houdini, who probably didn't believe in life after death or whatever, probably still believed some crazy stuff. And today,
Germs, wash my hands. No way, that's not true.
right. And yeah, and now I don't know. It's Sir Arthur Conan Doyle who invented Sherlock Holmes, who obviously has an incredible intellect.
Right.
You know, at the same time was fooled by hucksters,
Right.
charlatans that were getting money from him, trying to help him communicate with
Right.
his dead wife.
Well, because I think they had a code that he told her if everything's gonna be a fake unless you get this certain code, and she never got it.
Right. Isn't that's so fun though?
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't know if people do that kind of stuff anymore. When I
guess
die, the
Paul
code word's
is-
pineapple. You know, like. So when you get with the mystics, if I don't say
Right.
pineapple,
When I worked in New Jersey, across the street was like a fortune teller, and people from work would go there all the time. Just like, on lunch break, they'd go there just to see what she had to say. And they always said, "I don't believe her," I don't. But then like 2 weeks later, they'd be saying, "But she told me," like logically they know, their brains tell them don't believe it, but then something, one little bit fits something that they believe in. And
Right.
they're like, oh, maybe just the hope that maybe she does know what she's talking about.
I really think with like fortune tellers and tarot readings and stuff like that, I do think that some people have a gift of perception or something that they can utilize a thing like that to provide insight for you,
Right.
even if it's like the astrology or something.
Right,
like
right.
it's all. I don't know. Every now and again, you'll meet somebody. You'll be I don't believe any of that stuff,
Right.
and then you'll meet somebody that will completely change your mind
Right.
because you'll be like, "But how did she know? How else could she possibly have known what she?" And
Right.
I hope that there's still people like that being born today that are gonna keep people guessing.
Yeah, I mean,
challenging their doubts. Like,
I sort of believe in it, but I really don't believe that if you had that power, you would set up a little shop in like a dingy one-room thing and charge $25 for a reading. I've got God-given talent, $25. I'll tell you if you're gonna get married next year.
right. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point.
But I guess they have to make a living too, so you can't blame them for
That's also a good point. Yeah, it's a tough one.
But I guess back in the day, like Houdini's day, magicians were like rock stars, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, that was the biggest show in town when they'd come through.
It always seems to me like there was always one great magician on the planet. It was almost like there was only room for one or whatever. And then somebody would come along and be the next or
Right.
something. But all through human history, there was always somebody, some famous magician.
No, what is it? Is that in the code book somewhere? Magicians wearing tuxedos? Is that?
A lot of pockets.
Oh, okay.
A lot of sleeves, a lot of pockets, then the vest. Each one gives you not only cover, but storage.
Oh, so there is a valid reason for
Mm-hmm.
it. Wow.
Even tails, although it keep a lot of doves in there.
Wow. All right, we're unloading some of the secrets of.
Yeah,
of-
you're loosening me up, prying the secrets. I'm too easy.
If you ever see a magician in overalls, you're in for quite a show because he's got pockets all over the place.
Just wanted to. Here, I'll hold that for a second. That's the Discord. Speaking of magic, I made something for you. If you look to your right, Dad, there's a button, a frog button.
Mm-hmm.
You said you wanted to be a frog, so hit that button.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It is magic. I believe in it. You wouldn't believe this, but last week I went to a fortune teller. They told me that I'd be sitting next to a frog.
That's unbelievable.
What do you think?
I think it's wonderful. All of a sudden, I have teeth.
Perfect teeth.
I have perfect teeth
Oh, God.
and big old black eyes. Whoop. I love it. Can I be like this forever?
Well, you got the button.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you decide.
Now, how does the button... Oh, my God. How do you do all this stuff?
How does a button?
Wait a minute. So that thing's... How did you connect that to that?
I wonder if
How
I'm
come it didn't turn
freaking
me
any
into
children
one?
out.
What's that?
I wonder if we're freaking any children out.
Probably.
Now, I've got 2 frogs and 3 hearts. Is that from you?
That was from Kethera.
Aw. Thank you, Catherine. Oh, my God.
You asked for it.
But it doesn't move. My mouth doesn't move.
Christmas wishes do come
So thank
true.
goodness it's not adapted. I'm really happy that I don't have frog hands. That would I'd get kind of scared then. Wonder if you really had me. What if I was a frog now?
Oh, what if you go home and look in the mirror and you're
And I was still a frog. I'd be downtown tomorrow morning asking girls to kiss me. Got to use what you got.
God, this is starting to be like some weird...
Can you see it?
This is starting to be like some weird Stephen King type thing where somebody's a frog on... I barely noticed the difference, but it is. Oh, gosh, that's hilarious.
Oh, my goodness. I'm glad I'm a frog.
Oh, my God, Nathan.
I
that's
like
hilarious.
the frog.
The mouth might move if you exaggerate your mouth a little bit.
Oh, he's smiling
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he smiles when you open your mouth.
Oh, I'll have to look at it again so
Oh,
I can
my
see my
God.
teeth when I smile.
If you open your mouth.
Oh, my God. Ew.
Houdini had nothing like this.
It's true.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't even know
my.
what years Houdini was. It was the 1900s, wasn't it?
Yeah, 20s, 30s, 40s, I guess.
All right. Well, I've gotten what I wanted. Would you like this thing?
Sure, you can hand me that copy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
All right. I think I'll switch on and off.
Yeah, you probably should.
I'm back. Please let me be back. What if I was happier as a frog?
Right.
That'd be interesting. Frogs have a pretty good life. Once they get to a certain size, not too many things eat them.
Yeah, they're gross. They're all slimy. And
What's the lifespan of a frog? Do you know?
Well, I think they can go 2 or 3 years once they get to be an adult. I'm thinking bullfrog here now.
I've always been fascinated how they start as sperm-like fish in underwater and live a whole life as a fish. And then eventually they grow some legs and lose their tail and pop up on land. It's
And who gave them the names tadpoles and pollywogs? I mean, why would you accept that? I mean,
they didn't have any say in it
they didn't
whatsoever.
have a choice.
Right.
Let's call that a pollywog.
What's the difference between a pollywog and a tadpole?
Whoever said it.
It's just
What they-
regional.
cultural heritage
Mm-hmm.
of the people that, boy, I tell you, there's,
You know what the frog did? They said, "You're called a tadpole." Just made that smile.
yeah, we're going to talk about frogs. I should be a frog. It would be bad if I got the button mixed up.
Yeah, but when you
And
were
I was a frog when I thought I was a person, and a person when I thought I was a frog. I went through 4 years of my life like that. I mean, not the frog, but I was trying to be something I wasn't. You know what I mean?
where
Jelly bean.
did they have the I'm not sure. It's not a rumor, but was it like the underground thing? If you licked a frog back in the day, you'd get high. That you hear about.
Oh, there are psychedelic frogs
Yeah.
that they excrete a psychedelic.
I've heard of
Substance.
psychedelic frogs,
Yeah, but
but
I've heard
I've
about
never
people-
licked a frog.
I've heard about people going out there licking them and trying to,
Yeah, you don't want to just go try random frogs.
I don't think.
I don't think they exist
I don't
in the
think we
United
have 'em.
States. Yeah.
okay.
And I just think it's embarrassing to be
licking a frog.
like, licking a frog. I think that's just terrible.
I wouldn't be caught dead licking frogs.
I remember.
I'd probably try it though.
I remember way back in the day there was a documentary about in Australia where these frogs they migrate and they just come over and like the roads they have to stop, the traffic can't even get through and stuff. I remember we went to the theater and watched this documentary.
Where are they
about it.
migrating to?
They like go from like one body of water, and then when the seasons change or something, they just like thousands of them. These huge Australian, frogs, and traffic has to. Some people just run over them, but
Ugh.
people stop, and kids are out there picking them up, but they're like huge.
Remember, you used to be able to buy frog legs in the store.
Oh yeah,
That's weird.
that is weird.
Took a lot of them to get a good meal.
Yeah, it did.
I didn't feel good about
I
it.
had frog legs one time.
We've eaten frog legs. We've cooked them up.
Yeah,
From ones you caught?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Gigging.
yeah.
We got a couple of gigging stories.
Yeah, there's a couple
So
things.
it's just the back legs or front legs too?
Oh, you don't eat the front
You don't
legs.
eat the front legs.
You can pick your teeth with them.
It's a pretty brutal delicacy there to
Yeah.
kill something, just eat
Just
its
cutting
legs.
the back legs off and throwing the rest
Yeah.
away.
Oh,
That's
Wait a minute, it's still
It's
alive? You
traumatic.
throw the rest of the live frog back?
no.
Oh. We've taken your legs to eat. Go go back to your natural tadpole state.
Yeah, when you frog gig, you shine a flashlight in their eyes and they freeze. Big old bullfrogs.
Don't you stab them?
And then you stab them. You have a couple of spears or whatever on the end of like tongs at the end of a long stick. Shine a flashlight in their eyes and they freeze, and it's brutal.
And what was the name of that song I played for you?
We had one famous family night where me and my cousins went frog gigging one night, and
Wait a minute, are you on a boat or like just standing in
we
shallow
had a
water or
canoe,
what?
but we also were wading around, sort of keeping them in the
That at Frank's Mill.
and we had actually we were young, but we were drinking some Mad Dog 2020 that we got at the 7-Eleven. It's a pretty good story because my cousin Eric. Am I allowed to even tell this story?
Well, I don't know. He might lose his job.
Yeah. I heard a frog on YouTube tell a story about you. We need to confirm some details here. But one of my favorite parts of the story was how we got the Mad Dog 2020 because my cousin Eric was a bodybuilder when we were young. He was like really into lifting weights and stuff. And I could tell the guy in 7-Eleven also was a workout. He was like a big muscular dude. So I was like, we tried to buy some and he wouldn't sell it to us. So I was like, if my cousin can beat you in arm wrestling, will you sell us? And he accepted the challenge, and he actually did it. So then we went frog gigging that night. Long story short, we got about 8 of these frogs, and then at some point, the canoe tips, and there are these half-mutilated frogs running, jumping for their lives, and 3 drunk young men trying to catch these things. Well, we ended up getting about 5 of them back or whatever, and ended up sleeping in various places outside. And the next morning, Dad brings the stereo speakers out onto the back porch and cranks it up to 11 and cranks the Canned Heat playing a song called the Bullfrog Blues that starts out with you ever wake up with those bullfrogs on your mind? Oh, did you ever wake up with those bullfrogs on your mind? When you wake up laughing just to keep from crying.
I played it about 3 times.
Yep.
Teach him a lesson.
Wow.
All right, we can delete that story later. I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
That was a classic. But yeah, if Eric gets in trouble, we'll deny it.
So how do you cook a leg? Do you have to skin it, or do you eat the skin, or
I think you eat well,
Yeah,
it's
you
good.
can eat the skin if you want to, but
It's like chicken,
do you
but,
lick it first?
but the ones in
you
the
get
store,
just in case.
the ones in the store don't have the skin on them. They just look like chicken.
Oh.
Dredge them in flour, fry them up in a pan, just like I'm going to do with that trout later.
Yep.
With
they're
some
good.
Tal Hum's hot sauce on them?
Maybe. I haven't tried that yet. That might be worth going back to frog legs just to see if the combination puts it over the top. They
Wow.
are good eats, but woo.
So if you got 5 of them, that wasn't really a good meal, though, was it?
That'd be a meal for one person.
We've had a lot of funny failures in terms of living off the land. I remember once.
Said Nathan Thoreau.
I remember the time you went out at the Deerfield camp, Sycamore Bend. Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
You were like, let's eat crawdad tails tonight for dinner or whatever, and sent me out with a bucket to catch crawdads. And they don't make them in Virginia like they make them in Louisiana. Like the ones in Louisiana actually have some meat in them. Our little crawdads up here, but I didn't know the difference. I had no idea. So I just went out and caught, 30, 40 little crawdads. Do you remember that?
I don't remember what they tasted like, but there wasn't much meat there. I remember that. They were crunchy, though.
Yeah, they were crunchy. I'll give them that.
What is it? I don't even know what a crawdad looks like. Like a salamander type thing? Or
No, it's a crayfish. Looks like a lobster.
Okay.
Looks like exactly like a lobster, except miniature.
Then there was the carp in the blender story.
What?
Yeah, ruined the blender. Tried to make carp burgers. Want to make carp patties.
Anybody want a milkshake? No, it tastes like carp. I never want to eat another milkshake as long as I live.
I've not been able to get near a smoothie ever since. Smoothie,
All right, I've never asked anybody this, but I've forgotten. Am I a frog?
You are a frog. Yeah.
All right, I want to go back to
Wait a
that.
minute. So you got some carp and you just
I shouldn't be talking about carp.
you
being
put
a
them in the
frog.
blender you were gonna make like a
Yeah. I tried to fillet it and get the see the trouble with carp was they have free floating bones.
Free floating bones.
Oh, what does that mean?
That means that the bones aren't attached to
Oh, wow.
like if you like that trout. Every rib bone is attached to the backbone. You pull the whole thing
Right.
out. Carp, you can do that, but you don't get all the bones. Some of the bones are not attached.
Oh, I never didn't. Wow.
So no matter what you do, you're going to get some bones in
Right.
there with the carp, which is a lot better than the meat, by the way. Their meat's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never figured a way out to eat carp,
To make it good.
to make it good. Although you go to different places in Europe and Canada, they eat carp all the time.
Wonder what they do.
Oh, in China, I mean, Orientals eat carp all the time too because they have carp in the rice paddies.
I wonder what they do. Hey, Ben, welcome to the show. Mark, welcome to the show.
I don't know what they do.
Now, if you were just gonna grill a fish, what would be your favorite one to eat?
What would be my favorite? Trout.
Is that yours?
Hands
too?
down.
They're the best. They're delicious.
They are so delicious.
And
How
they're
about-
easy to eat.
How about second? Do you think you agree on the second favorite?
Salmon.
You know, salmon would be great too. We don't. I mean, if you're talking about local fish that I've caught, I haven't eaten. Suckers are good.
Are they?
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't think so. It's a
except
bottom
they're
feeder.
very bony. But the meat, the flavor of the meat is very good.
Would that be your second for local fish? Would that be your second choice for a local fish?
Yeah, if I had the right size yellow sucker, I'd eat it. Now, the other one would be your crappie sunfish, bass. All those have about the same taste, and they're all good.
No, is trout white or red? Meat.
The I'd say white. Yeah, it's white.
Yeah.
The salmon's red.
You don't eat
right?
trout?
I don't know if I've had salmon, but I don't think I've ever had trout.
What?
Oh,
We should go cook this trout up.
yes, we should.
Because you can go to a restaurant and order salmon. I've had,
We could turn this into a cooking show right now.
Yeah, but we're not going to do that. And you know why? Because when you get right down to it, he does not want to share that trout.
That's sort of true.
But so your first is would you consider that like white? Like salmon's red, right?
Yeah, a trout is red too if
Oh, it
it's a
is?
native. But the ones you catch that are put in a stock trout are white because they just
Okay.
eat the pellets. And they don't, you are what you eat. But a native trout, you go by how pink it is, and they're delicious.
I don't even remember seeing that.
Oh, yeah. But, most of the time when I went fishing and you had trout, we were catching stock trout. I'm more likely to let a native trout go than I am to keep it. I'm up in the mountains, and they're usually little smalls, and I'm not usually hungry, and I don't want to carry them back.
Right.
But the stock trout, you feel like somebody else is going to catch them and keep them,
Right.
so you might as well.
You ever gone fishing?
Oh, it's been a long time ago, yeah.
Like when you were a kid or
Yeah,
since then?
Yeah. I'm always surprised when I walk in the park how many people fish over there at the lake over there.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty of fish.
They don't eat stuff out of there, do they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. They stock it and you catch
Wow,
it.
that looks so nasty over there.
But here's the thing that people don't realize. Those fish last about a week over there.
Before they're
In
caught.
other words, before they're caught.
Oh, before
So
they
they
die.
don't have time to accumulate the crap
Oh.
you're talking about. If they were born there, you'd be
Oh,
right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So you catch them and eat them before they get.
Oh, wow.
But so they're good. They're still good to eat. But if you catch a carp out of there, now we're back to carp. not
Right.
tasting
So
good.
so it's back to the old argument: are people born bad, or do their environment make them bad? As long as the fish are caught and got out of the environment for too long, they're still good to go.
Well, you are what you eat.
That's
So
right.
if you're eating poisonous stuff, some of that poison's in your body.
But I've seen like 20 or 30 people at a time over there fishing.
Well, yeah, I've seen 75 at a time. I used to go over when I would take my walk, and I can see when they'd stocked it. you can too, because there'll be 75 people because everybody sees that they stocked it.
Right. It is a nice little place to go. It's very peaceful over there.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch the dogs.
Got the dog park, the skate park.
You can recycle while you're there.
Right. Catch a game.
Yeah,
Shoot some hoops.
Watch a ball game. You can do everything over there.
It was very funny. I don't know if y'all ever have been or go to the Stanton Braves baseball games.
Oh yeah,
But when I moved back here,
I used to play for the Stanton Braves.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Oh my
Wait
gosh!
a second. I didn't know that.
Did you
Yes,
really?
I played one summer.
Oh my
think
God!
it
Why
was
didn't you
my-
ever tell me that?
My junior year in college, it was the worst experience.
no,
I
that's
ever
the
had as a
coolest story I've
player.
ever heard.
Go on.
Well,
I never knew that you played for the Stanton Braves.
it was 1 year that they decided to go all local.
Huh.
And so, usually they get college players
Right.
from all over.
So tell me real quick what is the Stanton Braves? What league are they a part of? How does that work?
It's like Harrisonburg and Waynesboro, and
Well, it's the Valley League Baseball, and they're affiliated with colleges but it's an independent league. There's only a couple of them around. There's one up in Maine that's very famous. But it's a place for not usually college seniors, but college players, levels of maybe they're not that great, but they're pretty good, and they might have either a college career or maybe a pro career. So it's a place for them to play in the summer. And the players all come from all around, and
Is it just
families
Virginia?
host them. That league is just the Virginia League.
The league that
It's-
Stanton.
It's on its own. It's its own league.
yeah, but the players come from all over.
And they sign up, and different schools and different send more players than others, and
Do the major leagues have like an eye on?
they'll scout them, but they're not at the top. They're like C baseball, and then of course if you have a good year, you can work yourself up.
But then there's something called minor leagues, right?
Yeah.
Is Stanton Braves minor league?
Well, the
Is it-
Stanton Braves is
Like the farm league for the minor league.
it's
Right.
Stanton Braves are not money organized. In other words, you don't get paid to play there. So a lot of minor leagues, when it gets to be up, you're getting a salary, maybe not much, but you're getting paid. And so for the college player, it's a college league. And so 1 year we dropped the thing of trying to get college players. When they were trying to get college players, they were trying to get local college players. So I had some old friends of mine that played softball that used to play for the Stanton Braves. Max Miller, the classic. Max played on my softball team. Well, when I was a kid, I used to go watch him play for the Stanton Braves because back then it wasn't a college affiliated thing. It was all local. And you had your Craigsville and Harrisonburg
Right.
Turks. And so Harrisonburg Turks were these guys that played ball in Harrisonburg.
Right.
And so you'd have a little geographic thing there with the Stanton players, but all that went away. But that 1 year that I played, I was in my sophomore, junior year of college, so I was in the prime of my years, but I hit well. I could always hit, but I had trouble fielding in that league.
What position did you play?
I was a third baseman,
Third baseman, man.
but I didn't play the whole year. But I remember there was a game in Craigsville where I made 3 errors in the first inning, and they took me out of the game. I've never been more embarrassed in my whole life. So 9 innings in Craigsville at the end of the bench, and you could never play again.
Oh my God.
But it was so embarrassing. So I didn't last
So
long.
were there tryouts? Is that how people got on the team?
Kind of, yeah. You could go out and try out, but if they didn't know you, I was the local boy. I played the high school. Everybody knew me,
Right.
so I didn't have to try out.
Mr. Kurtz went down and spoke up for him.
Right,
This is a
right.
fine young man. He's-
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's cool.
I don't know. He used to be able to catch the ball. I don't know what happened to him.
But so the Stanton Braves, the funny thing is, so I asked my nieces and nephews, what do you want for Christmas? And at Thanksgiving, I bought, like, whatever year, I bought like a Stanton Braves hoodie. And I was like, what do y'all want for Christmas? My niece says, I want a Stanton Braves hoodie. I was like, that's the weirdest thing to ask for Christmas, especially you can't buy them except when the season's open, you know. So I'm like, well, you can have mine. I guess I get another one. No, you keep yours. But I was like, I never expected a 28-year-old kid to tell me they wanted a Stanton Braves hoodie for Christmas.
Sounds like I'd like to have one.
I should get you to autograph mine. That'd be awesome. And third base.
Yeah, that was not the highlight of my athletic career. It was,
Some year, I'm definitely going to just get Catherine and I to commit to a Stanton Braves season. Just be regulars. Get all into it. Follow their record. Know all the players. Have our seats. Eat the hot dogs.
It's the first year I moved back here, I had nothing to do. I didn't know anybody. I would go to like almost every home game. You see the same people. Like you really did, but it's like your family. It was like, hey, everybody sat in the same spot,
and a lot of the families, it's real interesting because they've been keeping kids for years.
Yeah.
And they go to all the games, but it's like their son is playing.
Yeah.
Oh, so like players will come from out of town and they'll live with a local family?
Exactly.
Like
Interesting.
Brian Demery's parents, they've put up 2 kids every year for like 30 or 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And they really got great relationships with different people all around. It's really a cool thing.
Yeah, that's neat.
And some of them get to be very
Did
close.
Granddad go to a lot of Braves games? Did Granddad do the Braves?
Not a lot. He went to some.
Mm-hmm.
He would go to some, but he wasn't a rabid fan or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did you know? Now I can't think what the field's called. It's
Well, it's Moxie.
Yeah, did you know him?
I knew who he was. He was around.
Who was he?
Well, he just kind of ran I think he owned the Braves and ran them.
Mm.
But
Wasn't he murdered? What, didn't he go travel somewhere and had some money and he got murdered?
something happened like
Yeah.
that. Something
Really?
He was
suspicious.
flashing, not flashing, but he had some money out. And if y'all are listening and checking facts, this might not be completely true, but I think he was like doing something. Somebody saw he had some money and tried to rob him and killed him.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember that either, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But it's called like the Jawn. Is it Jawn Moxie? Is that what it is?
Jawn
Jawn
Moxie
Moxie. That's the
Stadium.
field name. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now the field is Ted Bosiak Field, and he was my American Legion baseball coach.
Wow.
He
What's
was one-
American Legion?
Well, American Legion is a group of older men that fought in a foreign war. It's a military thing that you played on. But for us, the American Legion, local American Legion, post 16, I believe, sponsored the baseball, and it was what the high school kids played in the summertime. So some of my great memories are American Legion teams.
Wow.
We played.
Do they still do
So we
that?
played. Yeah, they still have them. I haven't seen where there's been a game or anything locally. I don't know if locally they do it, but you had national tournaments. I played against Colonial Heights in the state championship, and then the
Wow.
next year, 2 of those guys were on my baseball team at Randolph-Macon. They were the best players on the team. So that's when I got to play a little baseball in a different context. That's
cool.
But some of my great baseball memories and some of my favorite teammates were they would go to other schools. In other words, 3 or 4 of the guys from Lehigh would play, but then you'd have guys from all around.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to know each other. It's like an all-star team, basically.
Who owns the Stanton Braves now?
I have no idea. It's probably a group of people. I got a story for you. This happened Sunday morning, or whenever the last time I went to the Food Line. I was going and I do my weekly shopping, and I try to, when I'm strongest, so I can take every one of those aisles on like the man I am.
Like,
And I
like
came
the
around,
old Stanton Brave I am.
and most of my really interesting encounters happen in produce. But occasionally, but this time it happened in frozen foods, which is pretty much where old men go when you're, because we don't cook much anymore. So I was in frozen food, and here comes a friend of mine from high school. This is exactly what happened. I've known him for years. We played football together. He was an excellent halfback, fullback on the football team. We had a really good football team back then, and I played with him, and we were good buddies. And he didn't live near me or anything, so I just knew him from going to school.
Right.
But I've seen him over the years, and we had a reunion a little while ago, and he didn't make it. And now we were talking about that, and he was saying, but the first thing he said when he saw me, he said, "I was thinking about you this morning."
Wow.
Now, why? I thought that was weird. It was an intro. So I was curious. I thought, well, what in the world? Why would you be thinking of me this morning?
Right.
And this is what he told me. I had no idea. He said, well, in high school, I ran track. I didn't play baseball. And I said, yeah, I know. You were a good athlete. He said, do you know why I didn't play baseball? Baseball was my favorite game. I said, no, I don't know why. He said, because I would have had to have beaten you out.
Wow.
I was always a third baseman. So his memory of me is I'm the guy that kept him from playing baseball in high school.
Wait, I still don't understand though.
He didn't go out because he knew he would be second string to me because I was pretty good. Now, I'm not saying how good I was, but I was.
Gosh, he still remembers that?
And he remembers.
He was thinking about it that morning.
That morning, he had been thinking about me, and I'm thinking, gosh, was he thinking about coming over and killing me? I've been reading a lot of detective stuff.
That bastard Steve Moore.
I better get to him first. So
all of a sudden you turn yourself into a frog. Like, what?
He rounds the corner in the frozen food. It was almost like high noon there at the food line.
Yeah.
There he is. I've been thinking about you.
I thought, well, that's what happened, because when I met him, I thought he was an old friend. Now I think he's a potential murderer. He might want to kill me his whole career as a baseball player.
His whole life could have been different.
Would have definitely been different.
Isn't that crazy how people would hold that stuff in though?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure I do too. I can't think of anything.
Have you got
I'm
one?
Sure. Yeah.
Just think of all the people that I kept from going to be a doctor because I failed them in chemistry. Living on the edge all that time, didn't know it.
Right.
But that's what I went away with. I was like, you just don't know how people know you. Like, I thought we were all, he seemed to be happy. He wasn't mad at me or anything.
Was he all white knuckled holding onto the car?
No, it wasn't like that. He was still cool.
So maybe he admired you. Maybe he admired your talent.
Well, I think there was a little bit of that, but when you're a high school kid, that's only going to go so far. You want what you want. But
Wow.
I'm trying to think of...
That's interesting.
You should have been nice and said that you always wanted to run track, but you knew you couldn't beat him. So.
Oh, that would have been a great Christmas present there.
That would have been a great response. It would have been a lie. It would have been a great response. I do have the worst memories of track.
Oh,
We had to go over to SMA and run, and I'd get tired walking over there. I hate it. See, I have real short breath even when I was in good shape. I just can't keep it in. Like soccer, nah. You
just running.
Think about football and baseball. Both of them provide ample opportunity
Right.
to rest in
Right.
between.
Catch your breath.
Why do you
yeah.
think we have huddles? I need to rest.
Right.
And then baseball, you sit down for a whole half hour while you're hitting. So, but soccer, oof, nah, couldn't do it.
Do you play any sports?
I played all through the little league years until I was basically the same size in high school that I am now. Height, I couldn't. I was.
So you played
I
baseball?
was weak. Baseball, basketball, football.
All of them?
Yeah.
Football was traumatic for me. I have lots of fond memories of baseball, but football was just, I don't think I made it past the first game.
Oh wow.
I always had all these fantasies of being a wide receiver or quarterback or something like
Right.
that. Coach put me on the line. You're a big enough boy, get in there.
Right.
And I don't think I played the second game.
Oh wow.
It just
Yeah, my dad was a big sports fan, so we always, we just grew up playing sports, Like he didn't like pressure us into playing, but we loved to play, so
mhm.
Yeah, it was good times. But then when you get older and you realize your talent is pretty much, nowhere near anybody else's,
Mhm.
I was watching something yesterday, and it said this is the moment where you decide you're an artist and not an athlete. like I love playing sports, but it's probably time to move on and do something artistic now.
That animosity between athletes and artists is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
It's real. I don't know. I don't know if that's still true, but it was always palpable growing up.
Yeah.
Well, artists, when you say the word artist, that covers so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the wide receivers are definitely
Oh,
artists,
God.
the way they catch the ball.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I still can't believe he played for the Stanton Braves. I never knew that.
Yeah, well, it was the most inglorious of all my athletic endeavors. So that's the one you remember, and it was the worst experience I ever had.
Now, did you know the guy? I can't think of any names tonight. Who's the guy that went on to play pros from here in Stanton? What was that guy's name?
Larry Sheets.
Yeah, did you know him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was running the Little League when he was in the Little League, and I taught him.
Did he ever play for the Braves?
No. Now, I'll tell you who did play for the Braves was the other local professional product was Jerry May.
Oh, Jerry May, yeah.
Jerry May was out in North River, but he had a great major league career. And I played softball with him. He was more my age.
Right.
But Larry was a lot younger. But Larry was a great hitter.
He played for the Orioles, right?
Yeah. Most of his career. His son's playing for the White Sox now.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. It's really fun to watch his son play.
Is he still around, or?
Larry? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think he lives here. He lives up in near Baltimore,
Right.
but he's still hanging out.
You don't have to fear running into him at the food line.
I would be honored.
I remember when that we had that one Thanksgiving where I had a bunch of musicians visiting with the Slip and Libby Kirkpatrick and Leslie, and there was like just a whole gaggle of musicians that were down for a few days, and Joe had a big football game, and so we all got in the car to go to the game. And this is one of the times I really saw like the tension between artists and athletes. Like Dave Tiller brought books with him to read at the game. It was like, what are we doing? Why are we going? I'm like, no. And I remember I gave this speech on the way to the game. I was like, look, artists and athletes were both put on this planet to display grace for people.
Right.
They're both committing their lives to being able to put on a performance of grace to
Right.
inspire and lift the world.
Wow. That's beautiful.
I remember distinctly Libby was like, say that again. It's like, wait a second.
Gosh.
But I think I was onto something there. I think there's a lot more similarities between artists and athletes than, I mean, the zone, like your relationship with grace, like trying to get to a point where you can do something inexplicable to a
Right.
certain extent. But
True.
I feel like there's a lot more parallels and stuff they could bond over
Right.
than they realize, because they don't ever talk to each other,
Right.
apparently. If they did, they would realize that they have a lot more in common than
Right,
they have
right.
apart.
Very
Wow.
good. I like that. And there's some truth there.
Hmm. And just like getting, the getting in the zone, the basketball player that has that game where they can't miss, and the piano player that has that concert where they can't
Right,
miss.
right.
It's a very physical, similar kind of thing,
Right.
where you hit that state of grace with what you've practiced over and over and
Yeah.
over again. It's a very similar state.
Yep. I can see that.
And as an artist, I've always just been jealous of athletes in the sense that they can win or lose. You can prove you're the best. Whereas art is always subjective.
Oh, that's
There's
true,
something
yeah.
interesting about that. On the other hand, the thing I don't envy athletes for is, as a writer, you feasibly could just get better and better your whole life. Whereas an athlete, when they hit the
Oh,
wall,
yeah.
it's all downhill, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
in your 20s often,
Yeah.
if not early 30s, and that's got to be traumatic to
Oh,
spend your
yeah.
whole life getting to be the best at your thing, and then just physically not being able to do it at a very young age anymore. It's got to be a scary reality or whatever for an athlete.
And you just hear like these superstar athletes with their, some injury in their careers. Just you
Mhm.
never really hear about musicians. Like I tore my ACL and I just never I
Right.
ruined. I might as well,
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I'm just gonna do pop cover songs from now on. That's all I'm good for.
Since I tore my ACL. It's true.
Send me down to Applebee's on Friday. I don't care. I'll still play. I used to be somebody. Man, oh man. Then when you would tour with your band, did you feel like you were a team?
Oh yeah.
Would you
Yeah,
be like,
that's-
all right, let's go out there. We're gonna kick ass tonight. or
yeah,
we're
you
gonna-"
get the little huddle before you go on stage, and everybody gathers around. All right, tonight we're leave it all on the stage.
Right.
Yeah, there's definitely a team mentality. It's a good analogy. J Dodd says, I was born with a heart defect, so I couldn't play sports, but for a few years before my doctor told me not to, music pretty much saved me because I was devastated not being able to play sports.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Good for him.
so you,
Good
yeah.
to find something else.
Mm-hmm.
There are other things out there.
No, did they become a musician or they just liked music? I didn't catch that. Did they become a musician or they just music just like saved them like it saved other people? I guess you don't know the answer.
Hey, hey, Courtney. Courtney just logged in.
Courtney.
Good to see you. Heart, heart, heart. Were you relating to what I said there, J. Dodd? Do you see a through line there from the sports to the music, or was it more random than that? Did music seem to satisfy the same thing on some level? I mean, you definitely, it's just like anything else. You practice. It's a practice. You practice,
Right.
you get better, and you can see your growth
Right.
through the practicing. Like, oh, I can really do that now, and I could see it being very similar. But I guess everything's like that. Cooking.
Now, I'm trying to how would this like let's say like like he was playing softball with a bunch of older guys. Or like you can still have fun. Do you think it's fun for musicians that aren't very good just to sit around and play? Like that's just as good as they're ever gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
Or does that like be like, oh my God, if he doesn't leave this room, I'm gonna have to like, like, is that annoying if somebody can't keep up, or is that just like he's having fun? That's the best he can do, or is
Oh, I feel like you had two different questions there.
well, like a like say if you're like if you've reached your prime in sports and you've gone downhill, but you want to go play softball with friends. I don't think anybody really judges you like you're not as good, but do musicians, do they like, oh my God, this is as good as you ever got? You know, you just can't even be in this room with us, or they don't. That's as long as they're having fun, is it acceptable?
Well, you'd have to be pretty mean to be to do that to somebody, right? On the other hand,
Beat it.
on the other hand, I feel like the most joy you're going to have from music or sports or anything like that is playing with people on the same level as you,
Right.
or better. You're always
Right.
going to want to be playing with people that are better than you, no matter where you
Right.
are.
No,
on the-
I'm not a musician at all, but a couple years ago, I was hanging out with this friend of mine. He's like, we're going to go watch this band practice. And we went out there. We had a couple of drinks and stuff. We're out there, and everybody's leaving. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. They're like, you want to play the drums? And I was like, yeah, I'll play the drums. And I was like in heaven. I mean, they were just playing. They were just like doodling around their guitars, and I was playing drums. And they were like, all right, let's quit. I was like, no, we can't quit. I just want to, it's just like you said, getting into that groove. I just like, oh my, it was like, it's a feeling. I mean, that's the closest I've ever come to being like in a band.
Well, why didn't you go out and buy a drum kit?
Well, see, I had drums when I was a kid,
Well, yeah.
but I mean, I didn't take them serious. And
Christmas is right around the corner, folks.
Yeah.
It's not too late to have a happy
Yeah.
childhood.
Oh my gosh! But just back there playing the drums, and these were two good guitar players, and they were just playing, and I would just like just change the beat up or something. And they would just it was almost like they were just following along with what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! And they were recording it, and I like begged them for like weeks, give me that recording. Oh, then they were like, we record every night,
You don't want to hear that.
I was like, no, please.
Just remember it how you remember it, and I think that'll be the best.
Oh my God.
J-Dot says, I channeled that competitive energy into music. I'm intrigued. I'd actually like to hear more on that.
So they became a musician.
I've always had an interesting relationship with the idea of competitiveness in art and stuff, because a lot of people are really down on that, and then I always sort of loved it, the idea that I'm going to be the best,
Right.
or whatever, and if Willie writes a song that's too good, I see that as a challenge.
Right.
Like, oh no, I'm not going to just sit there and take
Right.
that. I'm going to have to top that.
Right.
And I just always loved that energy. And then I would meet people that hate that energy, the idea that anybody would judge like that, or be competitive. I don't know.
But that's like inspiration, though. Like they've pushed you to do better yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still think of it as a very healthy thing, and I don't have somebody here that could offer the counterpoint of why it's bad. But I know, John Lennon and Paul McCartney thrived off of it their entire relationship. Right. There's a healthy competitiveness, and then there's a unhealthy competitiveness, I guess.
Right.
I don't know how you would distinguish those.
I guess you could be like Dylan and Cohen, just admiring each other's genius.
Right. That was a great line from that movie.
That was a funny line.
It was a very pleasant conversation. We shared songs and both marveled at each other's genius. Last time I saw these two, I was performing before. It was a series that a local arts group did called Music at the Movies, where they would have a musician play before a documentary or something about music, and I had the honor of playing before the Leonard Cohen documentary called Hallelujah, and I did 4 songs before that, and he's such a hero of mine. When they invited me to do it, there was no way I could say no, and I'm glad I did it. It was fun. I'm glad you guys were there. You did great. I'm so used to...
What did I do?
Well, you just... You seemed to be really into it all the way to the end. You didn't.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was. The actual show was, I didn't know what to expect, but it was actually a show about the song,
Yeah.
and I didn't know that at all. You know, the whole idea of 10 different people did Hallelujah, who I'd never heard that before, but I thought that was interesting.
It was interesting.
It was like I was getting ready to burst into tears when I was trying to talk to you that night. But I mean, I've listened to so many versions of that song, and it is such a beautiful song. But the way you did it, we all got to sing along with it. I mean, I just had tears running down my face when I was singing it, and I tried to tell you I had to stop because I was like, oh, I was gonna start crying again. But it is such a powerful and beautiful song, and that you gave us all the opportunity to sing. You know, that part was.
Yeah, that
And you
was
could hear
really
like
well
everybody
done.
in the crowd singing. That was really wonderful.
It was
That was
wonderful.
great.
Now, your crying didn't have anything to do with my singing, did it?
I was just thinking about your third bass play. I was like, oh my god. I thought that was wonderful.
J-Dot says, I totally want, just to go back for a second, I totally wanted to be the best guitar player in high school. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You got to have some of that energy about you,
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like the idea that competitiveness is bad, I feel like is overrepresented sometimes.
Well, I think it helps you to reach heights you would never even think about if you didn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it's a time and place thing too.
Right.
Because I was thinking about my competitive nature. Like, I let it go on racquetball court. I mean, it's all about beating you, and that's the game. And so I get all that out. And if I don't beat you, I analyze why I didn't. And next time you play me, I'm going to implement that. Well, that's all competition, but it's beautiful.
Right.
But then on another level where you're trying to accomplish something, it could get in the way of an art form or something like that. In other words, what are your priorities?
Right.
If you want to, like I've never felt competitive about writing a poem or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of pops up, and
Now,
I'm not competing against anyone.
Right.
Do you
Right.
think? Do you think was teaching a competitive? You wanted to be the best teacher or the most liked teacher?
That's a good example. I never compared myself as a teacher. I didn't want to be the best teacher because I didn't know how to compare those things
Right.
and how to say. Racquetball was
Not
pretty-
at all.
Well, I wanted to be the best teacher that a certain student, that any of my students ever had.
Right.
But that's a different thing than just beating him at being a good teacher.
Right, but it might be closer to the bone of the idea,
Well,
anyways, because it's not necessarily about being better than Gene, but it is about the kid liking you more than Gene, or or being more inspired. I don't know. There's some like
could be.
There's-
I mean,
Because what inspired you to have things like this that nobody else did? Just that was a tool for you, or that you wanted to be known because you were the
I wanted to be the kind of teacher that I would have liked to have had,
that's a good way to put it.
and I never, and people, I didn't have many role models, because no one was like me. They really weren't. There were just too many different games going on. I mean, everybody's playing a game at that level, teachers and the students,
Right.
and like I wanted to get to that kid that wasn't playing the academic game.
Right,
I wanted them to see that they needed to do well.
right.
And then sometimes I would appeal to their competitive nature. You can do better than this. You're better than them. Why are you letting this represent you?
right.
That type of thing. So yeah, it's out there. But I never looked at my teaching as a competitive thing in my way of looking at things. But it was,
Right.
yeah. But I was very interested in being the best I could be, according to what I thought was the best,
Right.
not what anybody else thought was the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I was playing a game, but just had my own rules, just like we all do.
Do you have any aspect of your life that has been driven by competitiveness?
Gosh, I probably do. It's not coming to me off the top of my head, but I'm sure I'm driven by so many weird things if I was going to think about them.
How about the bold print? Did you have any rivals or any other zines back in the day that you wanted to outshine?
I emulated a lot of them, and I wanted to, keep up with. I mean, the ones I really liked, I don't think I ever reached anywhere near that. But I took pride in being in Stanton and doing, for what I was doing, and it's, it did give you a sense of, nobody else is doing this, And,
Mm-hmm. If there had been another local kid about your age doing one simultaneously, that might have brought.
Beat the shit out of.
I kicked his butt.
Mysteriously hit by a car while walking home at night.
And then after that, not competitive at all. Really,
No.
Can't relate to that.
But it is.
I
fun.
eliminated all my competition immediately
But it's
because
funny,
I don't
like,
like being competitive.
When it was my magazine, it takes up all your time, and you probably know this from being a musician. It just takes up. People just think, oh, here's the magazine. That's great. They don't realize how much mailing and putting it together and stuff. But then after I stopped doing it, or towards the end, I had other friends that started up magazines, and it's just so nice to be able to. They're like, we're going to give you a monthly column, or we need an article. It's so nice just to be able to focus on that and send it out, and like, you got to edit it, you got to put it together, you got to do all that stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But it was funny, the way I write is just so screwed up anyway. But I remember one of my friends told me that they would put the magazine together and they would just argue, should we edit his stuff or just put it the way he sends it in? They're like, and it's like, some of the stuff he writes you can barely understand, but he's writing it in the way he wants to write it. He knows what he's doing, but it's like just a mess. So half of them would be like, no, we have to edit it so the reader can figure it out. The other half would be like, no, this is the way he wrote it. I was like, well, that sort of gave me some pride that they couldn't even figure out what to do with it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like some of them knew, like, I can't explain it, but they just knew why I was writing it that way. And other ones were like, oh my God, we could cut out half these words and make much more sense.
You still do that?
Yeah, but every once in a while somebody will ask me they need something, and I'll, send something in.
Where do you get that out now? Generally, Facebook posts.
Yeah, a lot of Facebook stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and just, put that out there. We have a thing at work that I'll be bored and send somebody like a text or an email at work. They're like, what in the world's wrong with you? Like, oh, okay,
It's got to come out.
Well,
somewhere.
they have like a big NCAA tournament, like all these workplaces, where you can just place your $5 bet. Somebody wins the NCAA tournament, and they just asked me to do it, not knowing that that I could write or that I thought I could write, and I just wrote the first one. People were like, "What in the world?" Because it used to be, pretty, the guy that did it was actually that guy Steve that did it. Did a wonderful job, but it was, he very inspiring, very, detailed, got it done, and then I just come in there like, just all over the place. People are like, "What in the world we got ourselves into now?"
Let's read it. Can you call it up?
I was just saying, but then at the end of it, they gave me like a big trophy. Yeah, so but I don't know if I'm really driven. I remember when I was like a senior in high school, I think, and my parents thought I was going off the deep end, like parents always do. So they sent me down to see some, I don't even know what he was, some specialist, downtown, and we went and saw him. All I can think of, there's a funny story. When I went, a friend of mine went. I'd gone to this place before because a friend of mine was going there, and he wanted me to just go with him one time after school. And the receptionist was there, and he keeps saying, "She likes me." And I was like, man, you're saying it awfully loud. He's like, I know she likes me. And I was like, God, this woman, like a grown woman, we're like teenage kids. She doesn't like you. I'm not saying anything. I'm just like, stop talking so loud. Oh, she likes me. I know she likes me. Then when he goes in and sees whatever the doctor was, and we leave, he's like, dude, that was the rudest thing I've ever heard. You were saying she likes you. And he's like, why? It's like, that woman was sitting right there. I wasn't talking about her. He was talking about somebody else the whole time. Somebody in high school. But I thought he was talking about, the woman kept looking up at him. I was sitting there like, oh my God, stop talking about this. I know she likes me. I know she likes me. She's looking and I'm looking at him like, shh. But when I went to this doctor, they asked you a bunch of questions and stuff, and they were like, he just wants to be, he wants to be like William S. Burroughs or Kerouac. Or he just, they pick some, whatever you tell them, So those are probably like my heroes, but I never thought I was, obtain any, fame like that. I wasn't like competing against them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just never had the balls to look at that receptionist and say, I know she likes me. I know she likes me. How do you know?
Those are some pretty dangerous heroes for a young lad.
And I think how he picked those, I must have mentioned those two guys, because I don't think he just talked to me and, that didn't, I mean, not the way I was, when I was 16 or however old I was, he didn't just pick those out of the air. He must have said, like, who's your two favorite authors? And told my parents, he wants to be like these two guys because he mentioned them. If I'd said Charles Dickens and Mark Twain, he would have, he would have compared me, That's when I was in high school. I don't even know if you ever read it. When I was in high school, I used to write a long story every night. I'd go home and I would just pass it around. I'd get to school in the morning, I'd pass it around. And then I found out that it was going to the teacher's lounge, and the teachers were reading it. And I would just be notebooks and notebooks, Like every night I'd write like 20 pages.
Wow. Wow. So was there... So when you were young, you really wanted to be a writer.
Well, I guess it's not like it was...
If you're writing 20
I
pages
guess it's like a
night.
musician. You just have, it's like it came easy to me. And like it wasn't like I was sitting at home. If it had been something I had to work on, I'm lazy as I am, I'd have never done it, If somebody had said, write 20 pages, I'd be like, oh, God, no, I want to watch, wrestling on TV. But it came easy to me, so it was sort of, it wasn't like a chore. It wasn't, like something like when it came to time to do a report or something. Oh my God, I sucked at that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was in 10th grade, we had to do a report, and I turned it in, and I got a C minus. I remember these grades. It cracked me up. So I got a C minus in 10th grade. So in 11th grade, I thought, the 11th grade teacher has no idea what the 10th grade people write. So I just turned in the exact same thing in the 11th grade, and I got a B+. The exact same thing. And I was like, they can't keep track of all this stuff, There's no way they're going to say, what did he write last year?
Well, it wasn't the same teacher either.
No, yes, that's what I was thinking. There's no way they can keep track of all this stuff.
Oh, no.
J Town just logged in, said, you tell the bat story yet?
I have not.
Not yet. Good to see you, Jay. Welcome to the show.
What's the bad story?
No, bat.
Oh. I was like, you got a bad story?
What's the bad story?
I've told several of those.
So there was never a moment where you you didn't necessarily have a dream that you had a life relationship with in terms of being a writer.
See, people have asked me this. People are like, you have a talent, but you don't have no drive to do anything with it. Like, I've never pursued, like, being a writer. I've never, like, tried to get anything published. Everything I've ever gotten published is because somebody will say, we need an article. I'm like, oh, okay. Just, if I had any drive or ambition.
But you did have drive. You were writing 20 pages a night. You released an underground zine that you printed that was all-consuming, right?
Yeah, but it's not.
That's a lot of drive.
It is a drive. It was a small, self-centered drive.
They all are.
It was.
Right? I mean, and.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll read stuff. So like I'll read a book or something, I have a friend that writes every single night, and I just admire that so much. He goes home, he works, he goes home and writes. I'm like, man, that's like dedication. That's he's not just writing when there's something that comes to his mind. He's like, I gotta get out.
There's a lot of writers that say that, like Hemingway and people like that, so, they set aside 3 hours in the morning or after their third drink, they sit down for a couple hours.
Right.
And I've never done that either.
And just all the
I
work
don't know
of,
what that's a sign of, though.
just all the work of hustling and getting it out. That was like when I'd have a magazine, people would just send in stuff, and I'm like, these people are actually hustling, trying to get something published. And a lot of it wasn't that. I mean, not really that good, but I just like, and they took the effort to send this stuff in. And I'm sure a lot of those people, that might have been the only place that they ever got published in bulk print. But to get something with it's got your name on it, like, oh my God, like, look at this, I got published.
Wonder if you have a novel in you.
I've thought about that, but like I said, I'm so lazy. I'll start one, and then I just, like, oh my God, this could take forever to write this thing.
At this rate.
God. Oh my God. I have stories all the time, but they're just like, oh my God, this will just,
Oh, we have a question here for Kyle. I'm wondering if Kyle still has the papers he wrote in high school.
Oh, the ones I
Dana's asking.
Oh my God, I wonder if, probably not.
That would be fun to see. Foffy says, I'm a challenge accepted kind of person, competitive but not ambitious.
That's what sort of the way I am. Somebody will say, we need an article. It's like a challenge. Mm-hmm. All right, here you go.
All right, I need an article for the next Jabber John.
So I can do something like that, but if you said, all right, I need you to write the next 12, we need 52 of them for every episode, I'd be like, oh my God, can you just ask me every week so I don't have to like have that burden on my head?
Can you write us a piece for the next episode? I'll read it.
About what?
Dad, about what?
About whatever comes to your mind.
Oh yeah, I mean I can write something. I don't know what it'll be about, but
You want to give them better limits than that?
I don't need to.
An assignment?
But you can.
You're the teacher.
I have an assignment right now. I'd like to suggest something to change the subject just a little bit. Okay. I'd like for you to pick a song from your new CD that you've been playing.
Oh my gosh.
It's actually say it to him, and I want him to perform it for all of us.
It's the second one on the CD you gave me.
What's the second one?
But it's sort of like a band feel to it.
Mm.
Oh my gosh.
Where you got it handy?
I might have a copy. Let's see.
It's not so much a solo guitar song though.
Ah. That could be fun on the ukulele. I wrote that one on an ukulele, I do believe.
Oh yeah, safe to say.
What is it?
Safe to say.
Am I a frog?
No.
I'm going to be a frog for the show.
You look like you're just already loving it. For those just tuning in, Dad now has a magic frog button, so he can become a frog whenever he wants. It's his Christmas present. That's what he said he wanted.
I just hope it works at home.
Elliot would love that.
Oh my God. Samuel would love it. Eva would love it. Lucia would love it. Zelly would love it.
It's been a while on this one. Something happens to my words between my brain and my throat. I can see them in their writing in a little paper boat. Trying so hard just to stay afloat. But it's rough weather, it's a long letter or just a little note. I got so much I want to say. I don't want to push you away. Oh, but it's safe to say I'm afraid. I never know when I open my mouth just which foot is about to come out.
That's a great line right there.
Will it be my better one or the one all riddled with doubt? All I know is if I'm quiet too long, I suddenly shout. I got so much I want to say. I don't want to push you away. Oh, but it's safe to say I'm afraid. I want justice, but I feel guilty. I come clean, but I still feel filthy. I fill with pride, but it leaves me empty. There seems to be a difference between the truth and honesty. I got so much I want to say. I don't want to push you away. Yeah, oh, but it's safe to say I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Definitely. I love it.
Fun request. I like that song myself.
Well,
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
No, they said at the movies you have 21 albums.
23, I think.
Wow.
Yep. A couple different bands. I was in a band called The Musement for 14 years. Then I have a band called Surprise Me, Mr. Davis. I put out several records. I was in for 10 years or so.
No, I can't. When he first suggested this, I was like, I got to find out something. I'm not going over to some drug lord's house and sitting down in the basement doing this. I want to make sure this guy's for real. And I was somehow you in a snowstorm. You were caught with some band.
That's how Surprise Me, Mr. Davis was born. There's this new band I'd found called The Slip, and immediately a huge fan of their music, and we met at a festival, and they liked our band, so we had a little infatuation with each other artistically, and they invited me to visit them up in Boston, and I got in my van and drove up there to visit them, and the next thing you know, the biggest blizzard to have hit that area in 20 years or something hit, and it was like 6 feet of snow or something.
Oh, wow.
So we ended up completely snowed in for days and made a little record together, and we just called it "Surprise Me, Mr. Davis," and released it on my little fledgling label as an anonymous contribution to the musical community. It didn't put any of our names on it or anything,
Wow.
and so it's sort of just a joke. We just were snowed in and made this little record and called it "Surprising Mr. Davis" and put it on Frogville Records out of Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then also as a joke, a few months later, Brad or Andrew called me up and they're like, "Let's do a little tour to promote that record or whatever."
Right.
And we just went on out as "Surprise Me, Mr. Davis."
Well, was that based on I can't remember all I read. It was a phone call or a message or something.
It was we got this phone call actually. Now they're I still have the recording. So I don't know if this is edited or not, but the original recording was a wrong number in this most enchanting voice I'd ever heard. It was on Brad's phone, I think, and I think he had like some kind of weird music as his outgoing message. So you just hear this enchanting lady go, "Oh, Mr. Davis, you're having fun with that recording." Here she is.
Mr. Davis, you're having fun with that recording. How are you guys? I've been trying to reach you. Your phone is either busy. I keep getting a busy tone. Well, I guess you guys are drinking a lot of hot chocolate. You guys snowed in. Have a good day. Bye.
And you don't know who it was?
No, it was a wrong number. She was calling Mr. Davis. And there was this thing, so we were just like snowed in for days, and we just got all into recording these songs, and a bunch of them were my songs, and a few of them were their songs, and our mantra quickly became "Surprise Me." Like Andrew would be like, "All right, I'm gonna go get us some more beer and a couple sandwiches," and we're like, "Well, what should we do while you're gone? Surprise me."
Right.
Someone would go to bed and be like, the rest of us would still be working. We were 24/7 just making these recordings. And so whenever someone had to step away or whatever, they were like, "Surprise me." And that became like our raison d'etre or whatever it is. Did I say that right?
Sounded good to me.
Surprise me. So then we got that message. So then we called the record "Surprise Me, Mr. Davis."
Okay.
And that used that record. It was funny because we used that recording on the record for a track called "Snowed In" that we wrote, instrumental track, and we used that voice. But it was before we knew we were gonna call the record that or anything. We took out the Mr. Davis part, and it was just like, "Oh, well, you're having fun with that recording." we edited out the Mr. Davis part originally. But yeah, that wrong number changed the entire course of my life.
Wow.
Pretty
Isn't that crazy?
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
No, did you feel competitive against the real Mr. Davis? Is that the reason you put the album
I
out?
wondered. Maybe.
Mr. Davis, come on, we can do this. We can beat Mr. Davis.
It is fascinating, though. That wrong number changed a lot of things.
Wow. Now, do you still keep in touch with those guys?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Are they still up in Boston?
Brad's one of my closest friends. They're up in Montreal now. Great band called the Bar Brothers. You should check that out.
Okay.
Yep, they're pretty famous.
Yep, definitely.
Pretty great band.
Yeah, a lot of people that are Nathan
Oh, you're
Moore
still a frog, by the way. Just so
Okay.
Okay.
A lot of people that are Nathan Moore fans rode the Slip River to meet him. They were slippers before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Slip were legendary band on the jam scene.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's surprising, Mr. David. They did a lot of like avant instrumental jazz stuff. So then they started wanting to get more into writing songs, and that's sort of when I came along, and that was sort of Brad's fascination with my little more simple, straightforward song approach.
Right.
But it was still intriguing enough to him. He's like, I want to steal some of this guy's
Oh wow.
chops or whatever. And it was a nice symbiotic relationship. How they were making me a better musician, and I was helping them with
Right.
the songwriting stuff or whatever.
So when Lex comes over, you just take your songs and like electronicize them or whatever,
Mhm.
whatever the word is.
Yep.
Now, whose idea was that? Well, that just came about naturally.
It sort of came about naturally. It all started when first moved into this house. I was doing a radio station from here called Revolution Radio on my website. Sort of the origin of where this is all evolved from.
Like radio, like playing other people's songs or your own?
It was like live radio shows, and I even had the closet upstairs that was playing playlists when I wasn't live on the air. So it was like a 24/7 radio station online.
But like other people's songs, like a radio station.
It was mostly it was either friends of mine
Oh, okay.
or me. But I would schedule it like up in the closet. I had an app, a real radio station app, where like from 5 to 7 would be Surprising Mr. Davis stuff. From 7 to 8 it would be the amusement stuff,
Wow.
So Lex and I realized when we were doing the radio show and no one could see us or whatever, that if he got like a little drum beat thing going and him on bass and me on electric guitar, then we could sound like a full band or whatever on the radio. So
Now, is Lex the one that had the thing down at Black Swan with the?
Yep.
Oh my God, that was one of the. I miss that so much.
Yeah, he curated that whole thing. Just
That was.
a
Did
different.
you ever go to one of those?
What was it?
He would just have like 6 or 7 musicians show up that never. I mean, they might have played together at some weird point, but they never practiced. They would just show up and get a beat going.
Yeah, Lex curated it, and
yeah, I didn't
basically
know.
it was just a different
Oh,
group
my
of local
God.
musicians every Sunday or something. They would all come down and improv together.
Amazing. It was so
Yeah,
cool.
that was good.
Just and like you said, when you hit that groove, and they would just be playing. Then you could tell like something would click, and like their faces would all be like not. They didn't want to stare at each other, but like looking out the corner of their eyes, like, all right, don't mess this up right
Right.
now. Keep this going.
You hit the zone.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw some good stuff. That was wonderful.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah, that was crazy. I used to look forward to that going down there.
Good old Black Swan.
Yeah.
Yep. Things come and go around here.
Yeah, they sure do. There's been a lot of closures lately. Pandemic hit a lot. The
I
COVID
was
economy, they call it.
Sorry to see it. Skipping Rock was,
That's the latest casualty.
yeah,
What?
That's
Skipping
sad.
Rock?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
yeah, there.
Be their last month into January. Shuttering the.
Wow,
Yeah, it's,
I didn't know that.
yeah. So it's a little scary. I thought they were doing good.
Yeah, I did
thought they
too.
did too.
They fooled me.
Table 44. A lot of places I thought were doing good. That's what's so scary to me about it.
Right.
Like, oh, I guess I really didn't realize.
God, yeah, Skipping Rock, man. I'd go out there and see shows and be, packed out there.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's just hard night after night after night to fill it, I got a friend that owns a record store up in New Jersey, and he told me, the Christmas season where you're making all your money. So he texted me so it was Wednesday, Tuesday, he made $67.
Mm.
Like, man, it's just, how do these places stay in business,
Right.
It's like a wonderful record. It's like a used record store. It's called the Man Cave. It's got just collectibles and weird crap, one of a kind, like, the embalming fluid type stuff. Stuff you never see anywhere else. You just, but people just, it's just hard to get people to come into places like that and buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I'm sad about Skipping Rock.
Yeah.
The highs of you playing for the Stanton Braves to the lows of Skipping Rock.
Just so people know why we keep talking about this. This is my puppet box.
And then it's called frigid embalming fluid. It looks so unmedical.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it came from cows. We just
I'm very
milked.
upset that I didn't know formaldehyde. I should have known that.
You were right on it though. Once you started.
I know the structure, and I know why it does what it does, but I couldn't come up with it for embalming fluid.
How long have they been embalming people? Is that a 20th century thing, or is that? No, that goes back to the Egyptians.
I
doesn't
would
it?
say it's a European thing.
Weren't the mummies embalmed?
Somehow or another, right?
I think, no, embalming, well, it could have been, but I don't think it was.
They were preserved.
Right. Maybe they did use something like formaldehyde.
It's either that or magic, like some kind of.
No, so embalming fluid, it's made though. You make it. It's not like something that just comes from somewhere, right?
Well, it's a very simple chemical, and it's not very common. I think you'd have to make it. I mean, it's like in the aldehyde family.
Courtney says Egyptians used natron.
Ooh.
Am I reading that right? Is that what you mean? The Egyptians, the mummies, were what is natron? You said ooh.
Was it a balm?
No, I don't know.
Was it a BALM? So it was the natron balm that they would use.
That's good.
A friend of mine just told me today that if you get like a mister and you put rubbing alcohol and something else on it and spray it on your windshields with ice, it just melts. Like the rubbing alcohol just melts the ice right away.
Did you try that this morning?
They told me.
Actually, it just lowers the freezing point, but that's another.
No, so what's the reason for it?
It lowers or raises the freezing point so that it doesn't freeze.
Wow.
Oh, it's a salt.
Natron is?
Mm-hmm.
And Courtney knew that?
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Am I a frog?
You are a frog.
Good. I'm having trouble with my eyes. These lights are killing me.
Well, should we wrap her up? Should we wrap it up?
Well, I'm all right. I mean, we don't have to wrap it up because of that. I'm just explaining my weird behavior.
You want us to go ahead and embalm you while we're here?
Get in the box.
I'm about ready to be embalmed.
Natron salt.
I don't know.
It's a weird. Why do they do it? They do it to just for the funeral.
No, they want to look like that if you dig them up again.
It's weird.
They want you to recognize them.
Why would you halt the natural process to preserve your looks?
Because you want to be more than nature. You want to be supernatural.
Yeah.
Supernatural. It's a weird thing, isn't it? If you think about it. It probably even makes you unpalatable to nature.
I wonder why
True.
they do that.
I don't think anybody's going to eat an embalmed person.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Yeah. It probably just poisons the soil. It's a weird. Only humanity would come up with the entire concept.
But talking about salt, and I asked him this. I don't know what made me think about this. But what made salt and pepper become like the king and queen of table condiments?
That's a great question.
Like, there's thousands of spices, but every restaurant you go to has the same damn salt and pepper. Like, how did they become like nobody's ever going to take over from us?
I mean, it is good on everything.
But how
Whereas other spices aren't. Like you could put salt on almost everything, and it makes it better. Whereas curry or tarragon or
Well, most of the things you don't. I mean, a lot of things you can't taste when it's that simple. But salt has a taste. Our taste buds recognize salt.
But when did we all agree? When did every restaurant in the world agree that salt and pepper would be the two that they would put out there?
Well, according to tech support, salt and pepper were fated to end up together inevitably, but it was a Frenchman, Francois Pierre La Varenne, France's first celebrity chef and royal chef to Louis the XIV, who encouraged folks to combine the seasonings in the 17th century. It was said that King Louis the XIV was a picky eater and didn't want seasonings to overpower the taste of his food.
So
No
there is
idea.
an answer to that question.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to go to like a palm reader or something to have that one figured out.
I mean, I think, pepper's the more interesting teammate there, because salt is it does something to bring out the natural flavor of
Right.
what you're eating, and it is like MSG sort of cuts the taste buds microscopically to allow more taste in.
Okay.
So like it and Dad might know. I mean, there's something about salt's reaction chemically with the moisture and texture of food or whatever. That's sort of interesting. But salt seems like it does a whole thing. I don't know.
Well, salt is necessary for a lot of things in your body. But you can't have too much salt, but you want enough salt.
Right.
So there is a craving. I mean, deer will walk miles to get to a salt lick.
A salt lick.
So there's a
What's that all about?
evidently they're depleted and they need it for their functioning, but I really don't know. I couldn't answer that. I could make up stuff, but I don't feel like it.
I put down salt on the sidewalk so you guys
Ah.
wouldn't die on the way in.
Now,
Salt's a miracle.
And the thing is, I was so disappointed that you opened the door early because I was getting ready to get down on my hands and knees and lick it before you.
There's probably deer out there right now.
Well, any salt, not just table salt, but any salt, when you add it to water, it raises the boiling point and lowers the freezing point. So if you put salt water, it boils at 102 degrees. So it cooks differently than regular water because it's going to boil at 100 degrees.
No,
That goes back to your alcohol on the windshield thing and lowering the freezing
what he
point.
said.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier.
So that's what the salt's doing on the roads.
Yeah,
It lowers the freezing point.
yep.
It's fascinating.
And, they were talking about they didn't put salt out last night because it was starting as rain and the rain would just wash it away.
right.
So you'd have salty on the sides and nothing on the roads.
Why does salt lower the freezing point of water? Would anything you put in water lower the freezing point to a certain
Any
extent?
salt would.
What, it raises it or lowers it?
Lowers it. So it has to be colder for it to freeze.
Oh, right. Okay.
I visualize it. I don't know if it's true, but I just think it, on terms of a physical plane, the salt, which is sodium and chloride ions, those ions are floating around in the water, and it makes it harder for the water molecules to connect and form ice. So it's that ice forming thing that you have to get it a lot colder to overcome for them to work around the salts.
It's also, I guess, the nature of the salt that it dissolves into and becomes sort of one with the solution or something. Whereas
Yeah, if it's in water, it's going to break up into its ions. So you get
So salt is definitely unique in terms of its properties in the seasoning realm, especially. I bet. I don't know, if you added like a bunch of cayenne pepper to water, would that do anything?
well,
Like any powder, would it dissolve and change the...
yeah. The more it's all about the number of particles. With the, they call them colligative properties, I think. Ooh, I haven't said that in 10 years.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Colligative properties.
Why would you have said that 10 years ago?
When I was teaching,
Oh, right.
I used to teach this stuff. I used to know what I was talking about, too. I'm making shit up now. That's true, most things.
But salt is like because most things that are seasonings aren't crystals, or they're like veg or plants or something.
Right.
Like that.
That's what I was thinking.
So is that the salt, the only thing that really breaks down, and it's like pepper is not going to dissolve into the water.
Well, they're just a bigger molecule. A pepper molecule is huge, but sodium and chloride is pretty simple.
Is salt created?
Yeah.
Created?
Yeah. Is there new salt being created by nature somehow or another?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
How is it created?
Well, if you have salt water and the water evaporates, as the water's leaving, the sodiums and chlorides are lining up and forming crystals. So they're forming the compound. So, you come back the next day, you've got crystals of
I don't know if you like to
sugar.
read or not, but there's a book called Salt, like the history of salt. It's
I
an
bet it's
amazing
fascinating.
book. It's like there's in like some of the poorer countries, they have like salt lakes where they just drain all the water out and the salt settles down. They collect it all and they put the water back in. And then they let it go down. The salt,
Yeah, I mean, for some cultures, they're using the salt as money.
Yeah, they were like in the
to-
old days,
to-
salt was outlawed because if you had salt, it was so valuable for like preserving meat and all this other stuff. If you had salt bearing, you were like like a drug lord. I'm using the word
Yeah.
drug lord a lot today, but
Right.
Yeah. You read the book?
oh,
Wasn't there like a whole like worldwide salt routes and trade? And
Oh, yeah.
like
and somewhere in Louisiana or something, they have these big salt marshes where like these people make millions of dollars, like preserve land. They don't want anybody messing with it because salt just comes in there.
Okay, excuse me, but am I a frog now?
Yeah, you're still a frog. Hit the switch again.
So I need to figure it out so I don't have to ask this. If it push up,
There you go.
I'm just me.
Yeah.
All right.
So from your fish choices, I guess y'all prefer freshwater than saltwater fish, right?
Well, yeah, I like freshwater fish because it's fresher. But it's what I grew up with. But I like saltwater fish.
I love seafood.
Yeah,
Big fan.
I like fish in general.
Yeah.
But
No, did y'all ever have fish sticks when you were a kid? Or that was like y'all were fresh fish.
Ben was in the chat going off about fish sticks or Gordon's or whatever was his favorite fish back when we were talking about our favorite fish.
When I was a kid, that was Friday nights. It would be fish sticks and French fries and as much ketchup as you could put on before my dad started. Oh, you're wasting all the ketchup, just like
You put ketchup on your fish sticks?
yeah, the
course.
French fries,
Oh.
yeah,
and tartar sauce and anything else. but
Tartar
fish
sauce
sticks
I'm
are
down
terrible.
with. anything to cover up.
Yeah, just cover it up.
I don't know. A good fish and chips is good though.
Oh yeah, I love fish and
A little
chips.
battered fish.
a fish stick sandwich. That's pretty good too.
That is pretty good.
Now, what is fish sticks? That's just like just the terriblest meat you can get.
Well, you take a carp, stick it in a blender.
There's what we were going for.
What do you make it, Dad?
Son
Fish
of it
sticks?
is as good as a fish stick, son. Eat it anyway.
Go ahead and throw those 2 front frog legs in there.
If you had some frog legs, it'd be delicious, Dad.
Gordon's fish sticks, man, that's childhood classic.
I never liked fish sticks, especially when they had them at school.
Oh yeah.
Who knows where those fish came from?
Yeah. Fish
Yeah,
sticks.
yeah. It's Friday. Damn Catholics.
Pollywog sticks again. I still remember when I was in high school, they went to the we always had they put it on your tray, whatever it was. Then they went to like to buy the hamburgers and we probably grew up with that the whole time, didn't you? With French fries and hamburgers and ice cream and stuff. So did you ever go through when they just gave you the tray and that's just what you got, or you never had to deal with that?
I feel like I was there for the transition.
Yeah.
I feel like I almost witnessed
I think
that.
I was like 11th or 10th, 12th grade when they went to,
More of a fast food.
pick what you want. Yeah.
Right. And it was like French fries and hamburgers and
Yeah.
stuff. But before that, it was, spooned out. Like,
Well, we had great food when I went to Lehigh. Those ladies back there, they were serious.
Right.
I mean, homemade rolls were just delicious.
One thing I don't remember it ever being bad. I liked the food, but you just didn't get a choice.
No, it was
here's your
different
tray.
later on. But I'm talking about the ladies at the old Lee.
I'm sure then they would eat whatever was on the menu that day.
Yeah.
It was a different whole meal, 3-course.
Oh yeah, they had the hamburger steak one day, which was mashed potatoes and
Salisbury steak.
Salisbury steak with
Oh,
gravy.
yeah.
But
I haven't had that in too long.
That's
I need to write that down. That's a good dish.
that is a classic.
But I remember it used to be in the paper. Like you could look in the paper to see what the school lunch was going to be for that week.
Right.
Yeah, the spaghetti was good. The hamburgers were good. Cheeseburgers. What else did they have? They had a couple casseroles that were always good. But for institutional food, you couldn't
Ben
beat it.
says, I love the school pizzas, about 4 inches wide and 6 inches long, like rectangle pizzas.
Somebody told me, when I was living in New Jersey, they told me they said you should make whatever, I forget what it was called now, but when they were in school, they would get like a bag. This is what this cafeteria made, and they get a bag of Fritos and open it and pour chili in it.
Oh, yeah. We
So your
do
lunch-
that here at the
They,
house.
oh yeah, but I never heard of it as a school. And I was like, what
Frito
was
pie.
it? Yeah, he was like, yeah, you'd get like a bag with a spoon or a fork, and you look down there at chili. I was like, they gave you that in school? He's
Yeah,
like,
I never got that in school, but it's a delicious combination.
yeah.
Fritos, chili, cheese.
Never had that.
Did you eat it out of the bag or you put it in a bowl?
I've done that. I've done
Yeah,
that.
he said it came in the bag.
But we have bags of Fritos here just for when chili days.
Right.
It's the whole thing.
This was a perfect chili and Cheetos day with the weather. and
It
stuff.
really was. Yep.
All right, I have a request. I want you to open that book I loaned you.
Which book is this one?
This is the one with,
Same.
or you can do it if you want to.
No, it's good.
Give it to him.
It's good.
It's just the thoughts.
Well, y'all need to talk for a little bit so I can find a good one.
Well, I wanted you just to open it up and read one that you think is funny, or flip till you find one you think it's funny. A lot of it's funny, or whatever you want to do. Why am I telling you what to do?
I don't want to read a John Wayne one. Let me find a better one.
So these are thoughts of the day?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
this is the one that
From
book I
when?
was telling you about. I was looking at it this morning. A lot of them are just humor
From when was this?
from all the way back through my years of teaching.
Right. I don't know if y'all ever heard of this guy, Albert Einstein. He might be, unknown, but if I can't picture it, I can't understand it.
I like that.
I like that too.
So a lot of students are like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you think people can picture a Fritos bag with chili in it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I had that right off the bat.
But you still got to, I don't know, you still got to taste it to truly understand.
Oh, yeah. The picturing is just the beginning of understanding.
When you look around the table and you can't find the sucker, get up because you're the sucker.
Yeah, you're the-
Amarillo Slim,
oh, good.
famous poker player.
Oh, this I like this game. You read the quote, he tells you
Oh,
who said
yeah,
it. See,
that's a good one.
go towards the back of the book. He probably
Well,
skimmed the first few
it's
pages.
all empty. He didn't go. He's still working
Oh,
on
gotcha.
it. This is a life project.
Yeah, we could add some more tonight.
I'm a study of a man in chaos in search of frenzy.
Oscar Levant.
God.
In search of what?
Frenzy.
Yeah, I'm a study of a man, and I'm a study of a man in chaos in search of frenzy.
I like that.
Frenzy?
Frenzy.
What's frenzy? Oh, frenzy.
Yeah.
I was
Frenzy.
Gotcha. I was
Not-
FRIND.
BFFs, BFFs,
Right.
best friend frenzies, best frenzies.
I have some frenzied friends.
God, you got a good memory.
That is weird. I do.
He did each single thing as if he did nothing else.
Wait a minute.
He did each single thing as if he did nothing else.
Each single thing as if he did. Gosh, I have it, but I can't think of it.
You want to go to the frog, see if that helps?
Read it slowly.
He did each single thing as if he did nothing else.
Now,
Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens? I wouldn't have got that.
That's good.
Yeah, that's the whole thing about your writing and your, it's that concentration, if you can get that, for a lot of things. Practice. Yeah, you can practice, but are you practicing getting better?
Right.
I used to talk to my kids, especially in coaching, that you can go to practice and you can practice, but are you practicing getting better?
That's where a teacher comes in, or a mentor a lot of times.
Hopefully, yeah.
All right, how about this one? Somewhere between the unexplainable of science and the unthinkable of philosophy lies religion, quietly resting between bouts with zealots.
Steve
Wow.
Moore.
Whoa!
That's your pops right there.
Bouts with zealots. That's good. Wait, read that again.
Somewhere between the unexplainable of science and the unthinkable of philosophy lies religion, quietly resting between bouts with zealots.
Wow,
Yeah, I remember writing that.
that's cool.
Plus, I want to admit to cheating because I did look through that book this morning. Some of those I might remember.
From earlier today. Here's a quote I found today that I liked. Dostoevsky. We sometimes encounter people, even perfect strangers, who begin to interest us at first sight, somehow, suddenly, all at once, before a word has been spoken.
Oh, that is good.
It's true. I think I've had that effect on my certain people tonight with my frog.
Yeah.
I think so.
There are people skimming Twitch right now going, now, wait a second. I haven't even heard a word this frog has said, but I am intrigued
I
for
want
sure.
to see more of this frog.
Why isn't the frog speaking? Those other two guys keep running their mouths.
I want to know what this frog has to
Yeah.
say.
I bet you that frog was a hell of a baseball player.
And I tell you what, I didn't like that goddamn Steve Moore, but that frog, he's pretty cool. I
He's
like
all
him.
right.
He's all right. You got to know where he's coming from, but he's all right.
Oh, my God.
I remember when he was a pollywog. Look at him now. He's got his own show on YouTube.
He's a big old frog.
Never thought that pollywog would amount to much.
Now, when you, what is it called? Skiving them? What is it called?
What?
Gigging.
Gigging.
So, do you kill them, or they're in there just like suffering in the boat at the bottom of the boat?
Well, we thought we killed them until the boat tipped over and they all started hopping for their
They
lives.
were dying peacefully till the boat fell over.
Yeah.
But,
I'm sure, the people that are good at it have better techniques than we did. We fashioned it all.
None of these people were trained
Yeah.
froggers.
Now, what is it called when you put like a piece of meat on a string and catch crabs? What's that called?
Crabbing.
Did you ever do that?
Oh, yeah. Our
That was at the beach.
my
type
my
area.
cousins both grew up in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
My uncle was a Nags Head, North Carolina, so I had a lot of ocean childhood memories, crabbing and all that stuff. Beach life, man. That's the whole thing. You ever consider that possible? You ever dreamed about being a beach bum? It's a whole.
I've had friends.
You're
that
such a
just
mountain
love
man.
that.
No, I'm 2 days at the beach and I'm ready to come home.
Uh-huh.
I like the beach in the wintertime. I prefer it in the wintertime. I'm not a big fan of the heat.
Mm.
Like, I have friends just want to go sit there, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, oh, we don't even want to get in the water. We just want to sit in the beach, sit in the sand. Like, oh my God, I'm about ready to roast alive sitting here.
Yeah, I could see being a beach bum. It'll never happen. But
Now, do you go
flip
out
flops?
deep sea fishing?
I haven't done that much. You've probably done that more than anybody in this
Done
room.
what?
Deep sea fishing.
I've been out a few times, but, you know.
Is that exciting when you catch something?
Yeah, I never caught anything too big. The closest thing I've done to that is Smith Mountain Lake, where they have those big channel bass down there.
Oh, wow.
And you can go out and pay a guy $200 to take you out.
So how big are those?
Oh, they can get big.
I've
15,
never caught
17.
anything like that. That would be fun.
Yeah, they're big,
Wow.
and they fight like heck.
That's not that far from
I was famous in my social group for losing 2 fishing rods on the same trip.
here. It's like getting 3 airs in the first inning.
Exactly. Those are the 2 most probably embarrassing, unless you bring up sexual things, and then the list goes on and on and on. Yeah, that was terrible.
You were asking about the end of the book. The end of the book just is sexual embarrassments. Do you want me to read some of those?
Those would not be in my writing, I guarantee.
Magpie just logged in, said, glad you're feeling better, Steve.
Thank you.
And she says, to Kyle, come to Northern California coast. It's always cold at the beach here.
Yes.
Nice
That's
cold
what I
beach
want.
awaits
That's
for
what I
you
want.
in Northern California.
I've had friends that say it's like you can't even believe the difference between, our beaches and the beaches out there. It's just, just 2 different worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's same with the mountains. You go to, I grew up in the mountains until you go to Colorado.
Right.
Right.
No, I grew up in the hills.
Right.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the northern Pacific beach is just ominous, just like cliffs and cold and wind and rain and constant rain coming in from the water.
Yeah. People says like when you go, like I have 2 different friends have told me sort of the same story. When you go like here, it's like it's everybody in their brand new swimsuits and the music's playing. You go there and you're expecting like somebody from the 1800s to come like walking out like, what are you doing here? Like what? Where did you come from? I've been living in the cliffs for 200 years.
Jeffrey Placco, welcome to the show. Hey there. Joe and Kay's Campground and RG's Creekside Cafe in Nags Head. Well, out of context for me, but welcome to the show.
Very good.
Are those places that you frequent, or are you recommending those places for us all to visit?
Oh my gosh, we got to do a live restaurant tour.
Definitely, when I imagine myself as a beach bum, it's just like flip flops and fruity drinks with umbrella like Bahamas or something like that. Jimmy Buffett songs.
Nags Head in the wintertime is really nice.
Mm.
You get like the houses cheap, and we used to have a bunch of friends that always go in the wintertime, just
Really good deals on all the beach houses, I bet.
And if you go to the grocery store, you don't have to wait in line for 45 minutes. But it's a totally different vibe, just.
Do you have any ocean fishing stories? Have you ever taken out on a boat to go out and?
I've been on, some of the guys. I was never very good. In fact, I have a friend, Steve Coulter, who has his own boat and he's been charter fishing down at Hatteras for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been out a few times, but a lot of my friends have gone a lot more than I have. You know, it wasn't that exciting. First of all, I have an aversion to drowning, and so I don't like being in a boat that much.
Right.
It seems to me to be, I'm very isolated by water, and it surrounds me, and it kills me. I almost died a couple times.
What's that? Why was that? As a kid, you didn't swim?
My first experience with the ocean was being 8 years old, and I bought on the way down. We stopped at a store, and I got goggles, and I was so excited. I'd never seen the ocean. I don't think my mom and dad had either, because they didn't prepare me. And I got out and I had my swimming trunks on, and I saw the ocean, and I put my goggles on and I ran, and the first wave knocked me over, and I got up and looked, and the next wave hit me right in the face and ripped me along and lost my goggles, and
Got
I'm
caught in the
crying.
riptide.
They were pulling me out, and they saved me, and that it's gotten worse from there. So I don't have any good beach stories about water. I have a couple where people had to come and save me, but so
I was just hanging out with, I don't know if Stephanie and Courtney are watching, but I was hanging out with Stephanie last week, and her stepdad was in town, and he was telling this story. Him and a buddy went somewhere in Mexico, and they were on a beach, and they were just sitting out, and he went out in the water, and he got caught in a riptide, and it just took him away. And he was just gone. It took him like an hour to get back. And he had to walk back to the little hotel they were staying at. And he got back, and his buddy was just sitting on the bed, and he goes, "Man, I guess you can call the police or, whoever you notified, to let them know I'm all right." And he just sat there. He goes, "Who'd you tell?" And he goes, "I didn't tell anybody." He goes, "What did you do?" He said, "I just came back and sat on the bed." He didn't try to get him help or anything.
That's a terrible story.
Yeah,
He said
why would you tell that?
he said every once in a while they'll still get into an argument. Like he'll say, "Damn it, he never called to get me any." And he said it was like one of these like little tiny little beach communities, like a dirt road, but you had to walk right past the police station to get to the hotel. He said you could have just like stopped and hollered, "Hey, my buddy's like been washed out to sea."
Was he worried about him?
He said the guy just was just sitting there, like just like I didn't do anything.
Was he just mourning the death of his friend? Was he was he devastated?
I mean, when he was telling the story, he was getting very upset again. It happened like in the 70s. But I was thinking, maybe what do you do if you're like in a foreign country and your buddy dies? Do you just go home and like you don't have to deal with like the foreign like I'll just get the next bus out of here.
Right.
Yeah, you'd have to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah,
You'd have to answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. But
Where did you see him last?
Yeah.
Was everything okay
But
between you two?
It was
Yeah, it's
terrible.
probably did the right thing.
Maybe it was the right move. God.
I remember when I was living in Richmond, we took a buddy that
I don't wait. That we have too many questions.
It's the funny. The story's not funny at all. It's the
sad story.
the inhumanity of one person to another. But they come back and the guy just admits, "I didn't tell anybody. I just been sitting here." Like he didn't even run down the beach trying to find you. He just goes back to the hotel and sits there.
So
But maybe he didn't realize. Maybe he just thought his friend
He said
abandoned him.
He said he was just sitting there and obviously he was struggling, and he just was. He said he had to walk like an hour and 45 minutes or so to get back.
My goodness. Let's get this person on the phone right now.
that guy didn't remain his friend, did he?
Well, he said they've been friends, but he said he can't talk about that. Whenever he does it, his friends like, "I don't want to talk about it. Stop talking about it."
So
He's probably like overridden by guilt, But then when he was telling it, I was busting out laughing. And I was also thinking, of course it was, somebody. I mean, not that it has to be somebody you really care about, but it's like, what are you gonna say? Go tell the police, I don't even know if they spoke English there. Like, hey, my buddy's swimming and he's gone that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh my God.
Man.
But when I was living in Richmond, me and my wife took a friend that had never been to the beach. He didn't have like swim trunks, but he had like on some sweatpants that he had rolled up to the knee. He'd never been in the water with the beach before. And he goes out there and he gets the first wave and he stands up. He's just as happy as could be. He's looking. The waves completely pulled his pants down, but he didn't know it. He's just standing there like, oh. And we're like yawning, like, pull your pants up. And he's like, what? He's just looking around like, pull your damn pants up. What? And like, your dick's hanging out. Pull your pants up. Oh, his pants were like down underneath the water. He didn't even know. He's just out there loving the waves.
Riptides, man.
Yeah, that didn't happen to me.
And we were like dying laughing, like, pull your, it's like you couldn't hear. It's like, pull your pants up, yeah. We're gonna leave. You're not even tell the police. We're just gonna leave. We're gonna be out there.
You just find you all sitting on the bed.
I never could find my pants.
Just realize that this show tonight will not be one of my favorites. We've been talking about two of my worst memories. Why
Oh, right. Well, it's
why
good to
are
get
we-
it all out in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could tell you a couple of my sexual failures.
You want to just get it all.
Yeah, let's go ahead and cover it all in one thing. I jumped up in the bed and said, "Yay!" And she said, "Pull your pants up."
Then she pulled the sheets. And you're like,
And she went pulling the sheets, and everybody was running around. It was a terrible thing.
You were there celebrating. She's just sitting on the sofa. I should have called the
Oh,
police.
Right. You didn't call anybody? I've been gone for an
I
hour.
was so happy, and you were just sitting over there doing your nails.
But it's funny, like the story with like when you were 8 years old and how that stuck with you. And this guy, that story just still irks him. Like how his friend
can
just
tell.
let him down.
I would imagine they have a lot. They should figure that out.
Well, I think he said they were there like for another week after that. They had to hang out. And stuff.
Did they have separate rooms?
I'm dying to hear the other person's perspective because
Well,
he could have just been like, "I didn't know where you went.
Well, that's the thing.
I sat there for a half hour, and you were gone, so I came back."
That's basically what he
And
said.
if that was that's believable.
Well,
Now, if you see your friend getting sucked up by the riptide, now that's a whole different story.
Well, that's what ate at him. That the guy won't ever talk about it. Like, just say I panicked and I just left you, or I mean, just give me some reason. Don't just sit there, like, I didn't. I just.
I don't think there is an explanation except the obvious one, to tell you the truth. I think your friend is right. He should never talk to that person again.
I remember one time.
Are they still friends?
Yeah, he said they're still
Oh,
friends.
I bet they're not that close.
When we used to go to the beach, we had some friends that were much taller than us, and they would like wander way out to like some sandbar, like way out there, and oh, come out, it's great, and you'd get out there, your heart's pounding, like, oh, I made it, you're so glad you made it. But then I remember one time we were coming back, and me and another guy, and we got caught in a riptide, and he started like trying to grab hold of me, and I was punching him as hard as, it was just like, to get away from me. I was not going down with him. I was like, he was trying to grab hold of me, I was like punching him and kicking him, like, get away from
goodness.
me. Because I wasn't going to go down with him.
Well, you shouldn't be admitting that.
It's just like,
You don't look good doing
it's just that
that.
natural fear, like just.
Well, I understand that, but don't be telling people. People are going to
He
look.
survived.
Yeah, no thanks to you.
That is, it's a true thing. A lot of people die trying to save drowning people.
Yeah.
Not me. But I'm not going to
Dad.
tell stories.
Not Dad.
No. I did get saved by Joe Thompson.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
In the water?
Yeah. It was a nice, peaceful morning. I was with 3 couples, and we all wandered out on the sandbar in the morning. It was real quiet. The ocean was quiet. And I went back in to get something, probably my drink. And when I came back out, I was following where everybody was. I stepped into a hole.
Right.
It was just like a lake, you know. I just stepped off the bank, but I was already underwater.
Right.
So I just stepped off, and then I couldn't get my footing, and I kept going. And they're all out there, 5 or 6 of them are standing out there, and it was like, you know, waist high.
Right.
But I was drowning. So I was between them, and I was drowning, and I went down for the 3rd time.
Oh.
I remember starting to lose consciousness, and about the 2nd time I kind of waved, and a couple of the guys that were there saw me and saw what was happening, and they literally swam over and held me up till they could get me back to the water.
Wow.
You're making me scared of the water now.
Mm-hmm.
You're making me scared of the water.
So Catherine and I were watching a movie just recently and couldn't understand this phenomenon. Like, why can't you just doggy paddle?
Well, I mean, it's a question of density, first of all. It's the same reason I drown like that is the same reason I can play football and not get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Because my bones are very, very thick and hard. So when I hit you, it doesn't hurt as much as it hurts you. And but that density is what, you know, in other words, when I first went to the Y to learn to swim, they said, jump in the water and hold your knees and you'll bob to the top.
Right.
And there were 8 little children, and 7 of them bobbed to the top. And one of them was 3 minutes later, the woman
sank like a stone.
I mean, I'm laying down there saying, well, what now? And then at some point I said, I guess you just die. And she had to jump in and save me. And
So
How many kids was it? 7 or 8? I guess there was only 7. I thought it was 8.
I'm going to go sit on the bed. Yeah, we got all 7 here. I'm going to go sit on the bed.
excuse me, I'll be down at that end of the pool, and I'm not coming back up here ever. Yeah, I always had an aversion to water, but
Well, if
it's
that
all
was
about-
your formative experience right there.
But also, don't you think it's a state of mind? If you think about it and just calm down, it's much easier to.
That's
float.
what I was wondering.
Oh,
if it
that's
was-
true.
Yeah.
I mean, when I get in, I'm flailing,
Right.
and I don't have any fluid. You know, there's no artistry there.
Right.
But I do get panicky, and I don't. But the density is true, because when I was little and before I got to be that, I thought I'd be all right once she got. But when I would swim, everybody'd start off like this and swim across the top, and I would just be moving, doing this, and I'd just be going. And eventually my fist would hit the bottom of the pool. and everybody.
Get the Band-Aids ready. Little Steve busted his knuckles up again.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been ugly. But I have learned to stay away from water.
Catherine just shared one of her favorite quotes. I've heard this before, from Stevie Smith from I can't say it, Garmachi series. But the quote is, "I was much further out than you thought, and not waving, but drowning." Not waving.
Exactly. Yeah. Where have I heard that recently?
I don't know. She said that quote before, for sure. It's one of her favorites. Louise Penny series.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah. Got it, Catherine.
Jeffrey Placco says, "My brother Sean saved me one day at Twin Falls in Buena Vista from drowning back in the late 70s. I was a pretty bad swimmer myself, but I was also a trained lifeguard, which sort of shocked me.
Did you ever save anybody?
I still to this day wonder why they gave me the certification, because I was always a bad swimmer, but I could get where I was going, but
Right.
like you say, without any grace whatsoever, and
Right.
just sort of flailing. I never had a smoothness about it, and but then I wanted to get a summer job as a lifeguard, so I went through the whole thing, and apparently they passed me.
Did you ever save anyone?
I saved a kid once, but I don't think it wasn't. I don't know.
Right.
I had to jump in, get somebody that was flailing.
No, like the guy that just thrown in, I wonder if his brother, like in situations like that, do you know, like, all right, my brother can't swim, I'm going to be with him? Or is it just like you both take off, you think you're both confident swimmers, and somebody gets in trouble? Because I think lots of times, like I've had friends at the beach, you're like, we were like, we couldn't tell you were in trouble, You're a good swimmer. But then,
We thought you were waving.
well, like it looks like some people,
Exactly.
you swallow some water, or you like you say, make that misstep, and all of a sudden you just panic and you
the panic.
and you go, and everybody's like, well, we didn't know.
And that's why it can be so dangerous to save somebody, because they're panicking, and they're just like trying to climb up you
Right.
to air or whatever, and
Yeah.
your mind just, because all you need to do is just relax and let me save you. But
Right.
apparently it's a famous story. It happens all the time where the person you're trying to save just freaks out and kills you both.
Yeah, aren't you supposed to get them
What a-
from like
what a
behind and like put them in like a chokehold sort of? And like,
Yeah, that's the move.
Yeah.
You grab them from around. Yeah.
Well, Joe was smart. He waited till I was about dead before.
Right, right.
I was too weak. To
Yeah, I'll
fight
save
him.
him in about 35 seconds here. It's too dangerous right now. Just wait. 10, 9. All right. Let's get him.
gosh. So I wonder if everybody has an almost drowning story. Is that like? Is
Well,
that,
a lot of people can swim. Have you heard about that?
but I wonder. I mean, like, that guy that wrote in. I wonder if he could actually swim and something just happened.
Yeah, tell us more, Jeffrey.
Because a lot of people that I know that are almost drowned can actually swim, but just some weird thing happens, and you lose your confidence for that second. You just, like,
In the panic.
yeah.
Panic will do it.
Panic will do it.
And you never think, I've heard 100 times, swim along the shore and let it, you'll just, you just follow it.
Don't
till
fight
stops.
it.
Yeah, but that's just, when that happens, you're not thinking about that. You're like,
Well, if you can't swim any better than I do, that's sure sign that's called suicide.
Right, right.
no, how about a pool? Do you ever go into a pool now? Or?
No. I mean, I don't enjoy being in water.
Right.
If it's hot enough and there's a float, I don't mind floating on water. But, an interesting thing is that I've spent my whole life in rivers.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
Yeah, so I like water.
Right.
I just don't like it to be over my head
Right.
and threatening.
Well, one of my favorite swimming stories, and I must have been like maybe, I don't know, 12 years old or something, maybe 14, I can't remember, teenager, young kid. My brother was 3 years younger than me. My grandmother took us to Florida to see her mom. And back then they seemed ancient, but if I was 12, she's probably maybe in her 60s or something. Her mom was like in her 80s. And we had a hotel. Me and my brother were swimming and kept telling my grandmother, you need to get in the water, you need to get in the water. She's just sitting there with a drink and smoking a cigarette, just not paying any attention. We're like, come on, Grandma, I'll get in the water. Days and days she puts us off, like, come on. And she's just, no. And finally on the last day, she's like, all right, damn it. She just runs, all of her clothes on with a cigarette, just jumps in the pool. And me and my brother thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, oh my God, we got the coolest grandmother ever.
Of all time.
The dark black clothes and shoes and the cigarette
I love
jumping in the pool.
All right.
You damn
Last
kids
day.
are driving me crazy. Can I just
That's
sit?
funny.
Jeffrey says it was in a river, and he stepped in a hole in the current, got swept off in the current, just swept away.
Yeah.
That'll do it. That's scary, too.
Ben says riptides are the worst when you don't know how to deal with them. That was my near cause of death.
Right.
Yeah.
I know what to do now, but I didn't at the. So what is the rule? You
swim
you-
like
you
to
let
the
it take
shore,
you, or
you're
you-
supposed to like swim like you don't fight against it. Yeah,
you
go.
don't try to swim straight into shore. You
Right.
swim parallel until it lets you go,
Right.
and then
Right.
all right. I feel like we provided a public service.
Thank you.
But that's the same thing as, when you hit the eye, you steer into the, slide. Like,
I was thinking
and
the
really,
same-
you're like, you don't think about that stuff when it's actually happening.
You don't think about that stuff because Kether had to cross the mountain today to get her root canal, and I almost thought about leaving that in the note, like, just remember, don't hit the brakes. If you
Right.
hit a patch of ice, don't hit the brakes.
Right.
But yeah, you could tell yourself that over and over and over again. Then you hit a patch of ice, and
Yeah.
can you maintain that sense of like, all right,
I know.
the calm to be like, I know better. I'm not going to hit the brakes. I'm going 50 miles an hour in the wrong direction.
Right.
That's hard to keep that, even if you know the thing to do. To not panic is the biggest trick.
It's almost like you have to have like Marine training where they just teach it to you so many times that you don't ever think you just
Real.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, most people aren't in that.
Yeah.
You don't really know if that's good advice or not.
Right. Yeah, once you do it, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, have to picture it to understand it or whatever. I just have to
Albert
experience it.
Einstein.
You should invent like a life-saving like games and stuff like where you get caught in a riptide, you have to swim along the shore.
Ah,
You could sound like to the YMCA and boys clubs
just
and stuff like
include that in video games. Little steering on ice and getting caught in riptides. It could be like a series of life-saving video games.
Stop, drop, and roll.
Yep.
No, that one I might.
That's a good
remember.
idea. A little video game for kids.
Yeah.
Where you actually move the character.
Just scared the
In
shit
all
out
these
of them.
life-saving
The kids are
moves.
scared to do anything the rest of their lives.
Right.
No, I'm never gonna drive. I'm never gonna go swimming.
So what time is it?
9:30.
Wow, it's a marathon.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's a new record.
All right, so
Is
we need to stop, drop, and roll
You
now.
gotta stop, drop, and roll.
Stop,
Swim
drop.
parallel to the shore and don't hit the brakes.
Got it.
Knowing is half the battle,
At the
kids.
same time.
We are happy to provide this public service here to the world.
And one last one that I have a trouble with. Where I work, we have a lot of people that don't really speak English very well that come in. And I know speaking louder does not help them at all, but I'm always like, yes, you're here. And then I'm like, why am I yelling at them? Like, this is going to help them understand it. Oh, God, if he would just speak a little bit louder, it would make total sense.
Apparently, my buddy Dave, when he was in France or somewhere, was speaking English with a French accent, thinking that they would understand him better. And he wasn't consciously doing it. He was just like, yeah, I'm not sure that's the way it works, language stuff. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you, too, for braving the
Am I a frog?
ice storm.
Oh, yeah, is he a frog or going on?
Am I a frog?
You
too?
are.
I am a frog?
Yep.
I've been a frog all this
You've been a
time?
frog for a while now.
All right. Well, I'm back.
I didn't realize that either.
Well, it's okay. I'm glad. I had that snot running down my nose, and now they won't see it. That's great. We got it.
All right, you're the human you to say goodbye.
Bye. I
Bye.
love
Thank
you.
you so
Bye.
much. Are we doing a holiday version next week, or are we taking a holiday
I'm
off?
ready.
I'm on forward.
Yeah, maybe we'll get Dad to read the night before Christmas or something.
Yep, I can do that.
A Jabberjohn classic tradition.
Yep, we
Yeah,
start.
we'll be defining Christmas traditions.
We'll try to be a little less Christmassy. 'Cause
Have you
people are
ever
getting
heard
tired of it.
Dylan Thomas read his Christmas story?
Oh yeah,
That's one of the most beautiful
my
things
landlord
ever.
in New Mexico used to have that on vinyl. It
I
was
did
his
too.
tradition.
What was it?
Dylan Thomas's Christmas
I can't
poem.
remember.
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, it's beautiful the way it takes you right back to being a kid.
We kept I Am the Sun up past her bedtime.
Oh God, what's the story called?
Yeah, what is that, Dylan Thomas?
All right.
Gosh, that's crazy.
All right, and like that,
Are we off?
we're close.
Oh,
Good work.
Yeah, we helped a lot of people tonight.
Yeah, we really did. We,
I
we
think-
saved some lives.
I mean, it's just the fact that I can go home tonight and realize we saved some people's lives.
All right, that must sleep
You know
good
what?
tonight.
You know all that shit where you go out and you do all this stuff and the guy says, well, if we could save one life. I think, bullshit. You're not going to do all that for one life.
I think the